Gather around, freaks. Do you ever feel like you're an alien who can wear the skin and bones of another? Us too. It's the final John Carpenters in the month of madness. So gather around the internet radio and gather around the internet campfire, stick a hot wire in some blood, and ask yourself, hey, did you see this one?
The year is 2024.
2025.
And two friends once again invite you to join them in revisiting or discovering for the first time the masterworks of a filmmaker who transcends genre, whose horrors have lurked in the dark, broken free from the ice, crawled straight from hell, or even pulled themselves from the very pits of a mad mind, who showed us the hidden corners of Chinatown, sent a man from the stars, and dragged us to New York, LA, and even Mars. Nearly unmatched as a genre filmmaker. Once again, Hey, Did You See This One? Invites you to look upon the works of a genius. We present to you John Carpenter's In the Month of Madness.
Get the devil on the phone. Happy New Year, everybody. It's time once again for the hit podcast. Hey, did you see this one? It's the show where we do a weekly review, reaction, roundtable discussion, where you just have to ask the question, hey, did you see this one? This is episode 8,465,209,000, I believe is accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. Nope, it's 166, season 3, episode 17. It is the new year. It is January. It is time once again for us to talk about John Carpenter films. This is going to have to change next year because we are actually on the final 4 movies. We've been doing this for 3 years now. I think after these 4, there's one movie which we will wrap up that loose end.
And that's the movie you're doing next week, right? Cool as Ice? John Carpenter's Cool as Ice.
Yeah. No, actually, if you have been watching, last week our year-end special, our Christmas special, was Cool as Ice. The week before that, you may recognize one of our guests this week returning to the show, Michael Mongiardi.
Fan favorite. You heard it. The fan favorite is back in the 5 Timers Club. Let's go.
That's right.
That's it?
Entering the 5 Timers Club.
I could have sworn you've done this show like 15 times.
Representing, well, it always, well, 15
It just
hours.
feels that way because the show is so long, yeah.
Yeah.
And then for the whole week after I do it, I'm just telling her about how handsome Jason and Steven are.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you. So welcome to the 5 Timers.
Sorry, I thought we should get an applause for that, but okay, no.
Well, welcome. Yes. We got a little bit of applause. Welcome to the Five Timers Club. You are representing the Sonar Network. Also representing the Sonar Network, returning to the show from our highest viewed episode of all time. Welcome back to the show, Marianna Miniotis. Welcome back to the show.
Two Timers Club, baby.
Two Timers Club.
That was my nickname in high school.
Heyo. Just a quick station note. We have trimmed some things. If you're a huge fan of the MPAA rating game, well, it's gone. We got rid of it.
I won the final one. I killed the game. I put a nail in it. I won it, and now no other guest can play it or win it again. I'm the undisputed champion for all time. So
you are the only guest to have ever won, and the only other person to win it was Steve, and he won it like 3 times.
Yeah,
which is
hundreds of episodes.
Hundreds of episodes. We probably played it 150 times. That said, stay tuned for Tim Covey to come back on the show, because maybe that show maybe that game makes a return, but who knows? I don't want to desecrate the grave of the MPAA rating game and Michael Mongiardi's epic victory at the end. So welcome to the new year. I hope everybody's fine. This
Can
week,
I say
the
something?
Of course.
You told us what's going to happen on this show, and you also told me last time I was on this show, and once again I've prepared nothing. Is that okay?
You wrote notes, didn't you?
I wrote half a page of notes, and most of them were just like, this guy blew up, or like just like not really notes.
That's fine.
Luckily for you, it's a very conversational show. Also, you prepared great. You're dressed like you're ready for the Antarctic, and you're going to go there after this and find the thing itself. I believe.
I'm not going there. Are you crazy?
Yes.
I don't want to become thingified.
The thing of fire. Any
Who doesn't
Anyway, I
wanna
just
get
wanted to
fired?
let you know how unprepared I am. That's all.
Okay,
You can
it's okay.
carry on now.
It's cool. It's Friday
I didn't
night.
even watch the movie, so here we are.
Steve's currently watching the movie, but that's okay.
I do have it playing on the other screen right now at a very low volume. I've seen it like 100 times. I just didn't watch it this week because I was too busy.
Listen,
Why is there
it's-
something
we're
going on?
all- we're
Yeah,
all,
I took a lot of time off for work stuff, and it ended up screwing me over. I have like 23 scripts that I have waiting in my queue, and I got through like 4 of them today. And I was like, hey, you still need to watch the thing. So I just didn't watch the thing.
new
Do you guys
Sonar
want to
hat.
take bets? Oh yeah. Oh my god. How freaking perceptive that John and Jen are.
And if you like the
Incredible.
Can Pawn Awards, you can go sign up for them at some put the
Pawn Awards.
URL in the chat. And
I
also
believe
the Sonar Network is a network that hosts lots of great content. Another network that hosts great content is the United Federation of Podcasts, your direct competition. So look out for us butting heads in 2025.
Boo.
A bit of a discrepancy in popularity there, but we'll reach our rainbow. That said, I believe I've introduced the guests. I believe that I've told you the movie we're doing. The Thing is the movie we're doing. It is from 1982, starring Kurt Russell and a host of other people like Keith David and Sir Wilford Brimley. In addition to that, we are now going to do a brief synopsis sort of situation. Zardos.
Oh, thanks for introducing me. God.
Zardoz speaks to you. He demands you synopsize this film. Tell him how, why, who, what occurs in this film.
If you have been here before as a guest or as a viewer, you'll know that on Hey, Did You See This One? The guest always goes first. However, part of the new initiative to change the show around a little bit, the guest now never goes first, because I feel like the guests having that like anxiety causes anxiety, and I don't want the guests to be stressed. So
Is this because Michael complained about it on the last episode he was on?
No, this is a thing that I bring up almost every week. I'm like, we really shouldn't make people go first. If I went onto a podcast and they made me do things first, I would be so upset.
yeah, so this is part of the big new and improved. Hey, did you see this one? Now I don't like to slap new and improved on things because when other shows and movies and stuff do that, it means that they're failing, which we're not. We are growing.
Thriving.
The amount of explaining you're doing this week, Jason, the show is still going to be 4 hours long.
Okay, fair enough. Steve, would you like to give the synopsis this week?
Sure. Even though I didn't watch it, I have seen it a lot. I love it. It's one of my favorite movies. But the movie The Thing is about sort of like a survey station or scientific research team in Antarctica that comes across a dog. The dog is being chased by another research team from Sweden? No. Norway? No.
Norway.
Yes. Wait, Norway.
Yes.
That's the joke in the movie. It's funny.
Oh.
And
Sweet.
basically, yeah, this dog is carrying something. What it is, we don't know. Well, we kind of know because the movie shows it to us almost immediately. But basically, the movie is about a group of scientists who slowly become more and more paranoid over who could potentially be an alien in disguise. And they all slowly start to mistrust one another, and tensions rise to an explosive point where everybody starts burning things with fire. And, you know, in classic slasher movie form, most of the people don't survive the film until the very end. And we're left wondering, are these people the true survivors? Could one of them be a thing? We don't know. The internet doesn't know. No one really knows. And it's a hot thing that's been debated for a billion years since this movie has been released.
That's a good point. And we hummed and hawed on even doing this movie because it's been discussed so much. But
It's a very overly discussed movie, but it's also one of my favorites. So I don't mind talking about it with you guys for as long as you would be happy to speak to me about it.
I've never spoken about this movie to anyone.
That's fine
So,
too.
you know.
That means that you'll have a unique and interesting and fresh perspective.
Probably not.
Her perspective is probably like, Kurt Russell's hot.
He is kind of hot in this movie.
he's
He is.
extremely hot in this movie.
I
Have you
would
seen
go as
those
far as
guys?
to say that almost everybody in this movie is weirdly hot. Even Wilfred.
Especially Blair. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you know he's only like
Okay, I'll give it to Childs too.
Yeah. Keith David looks really good in this movie. This is like peak Keith David hotness. He was good in They Live.
Let's rank them. Let's rank them according to hotness.
Okay, that's always a good thing to do, right, on the internet.
Yeah, well, luckily there's no women in this movie to be objectify.
So we'll start with Wilfred. Sick mustache.
Yeah.
Sweet onesie. Love that onesie. But yeah, that's pretty much what happens in the movie. But I guess we should go through our first time, our brief history.
A brief history.
Brief histories.
A brief history.
Of course, here on Hey, Did You See This One? The guest never goes first. So I'll start us off this week.
I don't know if we have to do it for everything. I just the synopsis is a thing that is kind of like weird.
Yeah, I'm making it. It's a joke. It's a joke. But I am going to go first this week. Thank you,
check it
Jackie. I just want to say that this movie, watching it today, seems different in my memory than I did watch. It's almost like when I watched it the first time. I remember watching this like probably when I was 20 for the first time, like, which is now 20 years ago. Holy shit, I'm old. And I don't remember it being like this scary. This is one of the goriest movies we've ever done on this show. And we've done a lot of like pretty straight up slasher horror, but the body horror stuff in this is incredible. I watched it in 4K. And I got to say, there were a couple times during the movie when I was like, what the fuck, man? Pretty intense. But as far as a brief history goes, I saw it years ago. And there's like a video game and a prequel. And haven't really consumed any of that media. But it is a classic. and I very much enjoy The Thing. And I just remember Kurt Russell's piercing eyes, and they did not quit for the duration of this film. That's my brief history.
Sweet, thanks, Jason. I guess I'll go.
Yep.
I'm just so used to you being the last one to go. I don't know what to do after that.
Oh yeah, we're switching it up. New and improved, buddy.
God. I'm so uncomfortable. Yeah, my first time watching this, I was a teenager, I think, and it scared the absolute shit out of me. It's really visceral and gross, and the monster effects in it are masterfully done to the point that like they just make you uncomfortable, and everything that's doing it feels so unnatural. When they have like the tubes coming out of the dogs, and like I've watched almost every piece of media I can find that explain how they did all these special effects in the hopes that I'd be able to kind of like lessen the factor when I watch it, but it really doesn't. It's still very gross, even though you know exactly how it's done. But a lot of it is like weird tubes that are just flailing around uncontrollably, and they use a lot of real like muck and goo and viscera and like meat and stuff, so it's really nasty looking. But it's also one of those movies that still to this day when I watch it, it still gives me an uncomfortable feeling, even though I've seen it so many times. It still does the job of making me scared. I guess it's the only thing I can call it is frightened. And I think that's why it's probably still up there so high for me in terms of one of my favorite movies, because I still have the reactions that are intended, no matter how many times I watch it. But yeah, I can't really remember like an exact like now this is the Thing day. I'm pretty sure I saw it like on TV or something and was too freaked out to watch the whole thing, and eventually just got through it. But there's only a handful that still freak me out that I've seen as many times as I've seen this one, and I also love it.
Yeah, this one has a lot of like subversive jump scares where they lull you into a false sense of comfort, and then blow. Open chest.
It's not even those ones that get me though. It's like, but they do still. They're pretty effective. But it's like it's just the grossness and the weirdness, I think, that really makes me like, ooh, why is that face 2 faces? I don't like it. I don't like how gooey it is.
There was a big jump scare for me right off the top. There was like a bunch of these long shots of like the Arctic, wasteland, just kind of panning across the winter and everything, and just these long slow shots, and then it was bam, smash cut to 2 bald men playing ping pong. And I was like, whoa.
Horrifying.
Yeah, I almost threw up.
Well, Michael, why don't you give us your brief history for the film in addition to your bald man jump scare?
Yeah, I have
that was also my nickname in high school.
I have, unfortunately, a similar story to Steven. I have seen it a lot. I've watched it a bunch of times in my life, but I don't remember when I first saw it. But it always stuck with me for a lot of reasons. For all the cool creature effects and everything that were all like really great, and like honestly still hold up really well. And then, but also like all the like paranoia and the psychological like part of it, the like who's the thing and who is it, and it could be anyone, and all that. It was like, that is a feeling that really stuck with me even more. I kind of forgot about all the body horror stuff. What stuck with me after all the years was like, oh yeah, this is that movie where like everyone is like, pointing fingers at each other, and like, so yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I was excited to show it to Marianna because I know she's never seen it. Oh, sorry. Am I ruining her? You know what?
It's a segue.
I'll let her speak for herself. How about that?
Okay, it's my turn now.
Mm-hmm.
It's your turn now.
Yeah, no, I've never seen this movie. And actually, I tend to stay away from horror movies in general because I'm just a little baby and I get really scared. But it's funny that Steven is saying like this movie still creeps him out or freaks him out. I wasn't really scared watching this movie, except there was one big jump scare that I literally screamed at. And that was when he's doing the blood tests and there's just one moment where it's all quiet and suddenly the blood like jumps up or something.
Yeah, that's like the big one. Yeah, the one that
because
it's so well kind of executed in terms of like subverting what a jump scare should even really be.
The timing was like incredible. Absolutely didn't expect that. Yeah, so that did make me scream, but the rest of it, like, really, I wasn't scared. I was a little grossed out, but like, I will say, like, there's a distance, right? Like, it's 1982 practical effects, so it's like I've seen movies since 1982, so it's like I know things have like kind of changed, but but I'm so impressed with what they were able to do, like with where that technology was at the time, and just like the puppetry of it all was just like incredible to me. I was more impressed than scared by it.
Right.
But anyway, I've never seen this movie before. It's brand new to me, and it's pretty awesome. I actually wish it was worse.
You were hoping it would be worse.
I was hoping it would be a bad movie so that I could joke about it or something, but I actually don't have anything to say. Should I leave?
No, we can just talk about how good it is. Also, you know, the jokes will come. The jokes will come. Well, thank you both very much. And you know, like I can appreciate that perspective though, because you know, movies like this that did affect me when I was so young. I am always interested to see what someone's perspective is who hasn't seen it and has all of this sort of like subsequent knowledge from 1982 to current day, and like what kind of effect will this have? Because I'm sure that a lot of my fear that is still attached to it is probably still birthed from when I first watched it, right? Where I'm like, oh, this is the part that really freaks me out, and then I just kind of put myself into like under a weighted blanket. I'm like, it'll be all right. It'll be all right. The dog's head is going to open up like a flower, but it'll be okay afterwards.
Everybody will look at each other paranoid, and it'll be okay.
I also feel so bad for those dogs. I have like a really like heavy amount of empathy for animal cruelty in movies, and like even when I just am looking at an animal who looks uncomfortable on screen, I automatically am like, oh, poor little baby. He doesn't understand they're making a movie.
When they doused that dog in goo, I was like, ugh, did they do that?
They did.
Yes, they did. That I hated that. I actually think the dog discomfort was stronger for me than the goo discomfort, like than the like effects discomfort, because I really was very like, oh, this poor doggy had to be here that day. And we watched and maybe this is for later, I forget how this show goes, I'm so sorry, but we watched like a little mini extras thingy after, and this guy was talking about how he was talking about working with the dogs, and there was this one shot where one character is walking down the hallway. Is it Clark the dog dude?
Clark is the guy that puts the dog in the cage,
like the dog master.
Yeah, so he's like walking down the hallway to put the dog in the cage, and the dog's kind of slowly walking beside him. The guy said something insane, which was that it took them 10 months to properly shoot that walk down the hallway. And we were both like, what? No.
That seems too many. Yeah.
That's too many months to walk down a hallway with a dog.
I think if you walk down the hallway 10 times with a dog, in one of those shots, he'll be walking at the speed you're looking for.
I think it's because like Carpenter like wanted a very specific reaction from the dog, which I think he eventually got, which is like this dog has to look in this direction but I mean, like if you look at the shot, I think that's crazy as well, by the way. I'm agreeing with you guys, but the shot is really good. It's a really good shot.
It's great. The dogs did like a crazy amazing job, and obviously it's like chalked up to the direction too, but just like all the scenes with the dogs, I was amazed at how good actors dogs can be. But yeah, that shouldn't have taken 10 months.
That's
maybe an exaggeration, because that seems like longer than the shoot of any movie.
Right.
That's a good segue, because we've actually upgraded our director talk to production talk.
Dog talk.
All right. Quiet on set. Are we rolling? Okay, let's shoot this piece of shit. Sound. Speed. Action!
So during this segment now, we're going to wrap in the MPAA, which now instead of doing a whole game, I'm just going to tell you that the MPAA number is 26699. The box office.
Oh my God, 6699? You
kidding me?
That was my dream number.
420, man. budget for this movie was 19.9, or sorry, 15 mil, and the box office was 19.9 mil. From what I read, the general reception wasn't great. It should have been a lot better than it is. It kind of finds itself as a cult classic. The director, of course, is none other than John Carpenter, written by Bill Lancaster and John W. Campbell Jr. And if there's any other production note you'd like to add to that, Steve, please chime in here. But this is where we're going to just...
There's also the fact that it's based on a couple short stories, and there was a previous 1951, The Thing from Another World.
Right, yes.
As well.
Yeah, I have seen that movie, but I saw it when I was like in school. I think it was like we were doing a unit on like remakes and remasters and that kind of stuff, and somebody was like, we should watch the original Thing, and I didn't even know there was one. And I was like, pardon? There's an original? And then you watch it and you're like, oh, it's kind of like a weird Frankenstein movie. Like it's nothing like this. It's like a man lumbering around like kind of looks like the guy in this picture, actually, just walking around electrocuting people or whatever.
Well, I read about it a bit today. I've never seen it, and I was like, oh, there was a woman in the cast. That was one. This is the one case where they made a remake and decided to go backwards progressively.
Yeah, I think though that like, yeah, no. There's nothing good that I can say in response to that. You're right. You're definitely right. It would be such a weird situation though if a woman was in this situation with these men, especially if it was just one. If they had like a properly like mixed team.
You think it would be weird if there was a woman in this movie?
If there was just one woman. If it was like if it was like a properly split team of like people of different sexes, genders, races, creeds, it would be much easier. But it's like a bunch of white men, for the most part, and they're all.
But I think it would be better. I think it would be better if there was one woman than no women.
Zero. Okay, yeah, that's
if there was like a Ripley style character.
Yeah, honestly, even if you just gave them a secretary, I'd be a little happier.
The Antarctica. Her name is Antarctica.
I'm McCready's assistant.
Yeah. This is my husband, Uncle Arctica.
Antarctica.
Like I was saying, I did watch this in 4K. It looks incredible. The transfer looked great. A lot of the colors pop compared to watching it. I think I watched it originally on either some sort of pirated version of VHS. I just remember it looking really drab when I watched it originally. Because
I think you watched it on a VHS tape that you found in the woods, right?
Probably. And it was recorded. So right after it was just like, women's volleyball.
So there were women in the movie after all.
There were women in my movie. But I think that this John Carpenter, so Halloween is a pretty basic movie. Like it's a pretty like straightforward, you watch this slasher, go from a couple of houses. It's very like dark. This one, like in the daytime, it's very bright. And at night you get that foreboding nighttime Antarctic feel. And I really like the set of in the middle of all of the like little facilities when they have to like run across from building to building. I really like the way that looked in 4K because the white pops so much. Did you guys which versions did you guys all watch?
Oh, I'm not sure. We watched it in 4K as well, but I don't know. Was there like a director's cut and stuff?
I
was wondering about that as well.
I don't think there's a director's cut of this movie. As far as I'm aware. But yeah, I don't know. I have it on Blu-ray, so whatever version that is looks really good. But I mean, that's the thing is like if certain movies, when they're taken care of, they will eventually get their proper transfer, and you'll get to see it how it should look. Yeah, it's like the true like shining light of film and why things should still be shot on film is that you can always take if you have that original, will always look 1 times better than anything digital as technology goes. But yeah, good. It looks gross. I have the movie paused right here. and it's the part where the dog is like coming out of the dog, and then there's another thing that comes out, and it's all those weird like elasticy tendrils, and I'm like, oh, ooh, why is it that greenish yellow color? I don't like that at all.
So they really went for this like this real body horror weird realism that I didn't have a chance to like look into how they did it, but it's pretty obvious that they're probably made of like foam latex hybrids, and then they did made them real goopy, and then they also wanted to have this real surreal look of multiple humans and animals melded together, and it seems like the thing evolves throughout the movie to eventually at the end have everything that it's absorbed as part of its.
There are some extremely good documentaries that are like longer than the movie itself that you can watch about just like the creature manufacturing of this movie, and it's like it's super inspiring and very, very cool, but you also learn some really disturbing details that you probably wouldn't even notice watching the movie. So like when that flowery thing opens up, you can see that it like looks like it has a bunch of like little nubs inside it or whatever. Those are like actual dog teeth. Like they found a bunch of dog teeth and like put dog teeth inside of it, and you're like, oh my god. And like, you know, the skull that falls out is a real dog skull. And sorry, they've shot a lot of stuff in reverse to make it seem even more unnatural. They would pump things full of air and just have tubes to have these tubes being, you know, constantly whipping around, and you can't even really like script the way it would look, right? They're like, well, just hit the air cannon and see what happens. And it's good because it's unnerving. It's super effective, as they would say in Pokemon.
Of course, we are Twitch, so we're on Twitch, so we have to mention a video game at some point legally.
Yeah.
And then the score is a classic John Carpenter score. I thought it helped really set the scene to.
It's actually not.
Oh, it's not.
No, it is made by Ennio Morricone, the guy who does like The Bad and the Ugly and all that. No, it's good. The thing is that he hired one of the most famous composers of like westerns to make a John Carpenter. Like he's like, yeah, just make it sound kind of like my scores, I guess. It's like, why didn't you just do it yourself, John? You do it for all your other movies. So it's this weird thing where you're like, he hired somebody that probably put a massive dent into his budget for something that he usually does himself to make a score that just sounds like he made it. You know, it's so it's so strange.
Very like, John Carpenter.
It's a Carpenter move for sure. He's like, I don't want to do it this time, so just give me the hottest man in Hollywood, please.
And so he got Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, he got Ryan Reynolds to compose the score for The Thing in 1982. But it's just one of those baffling things where, you know, if you look at his filmography as a composer for music, it's nothing really like this. You know, it's so far outside of what he does normally. And John Carpenter just got him to emulate his Halloween style music that he loves doing or whatever, like his synth music. That said, it's a really good score. Like I use it a lot when I'm doing like tabletop RPGs for my friends because it is so unnerving just naturally, and like that kind of build to it. And you can cut to it at any time to just be like, something bad is happening, something's brewing. This is a stormy brew music, you know it. Yeah, I love the score.
And the last thing I just wanted to mention is that Bill Lancaster, half of the writing team for this, is the genius mind behind the Bad News Bears franchise. He basically only did Bad News Bears and The Thing, which are so opposite of one another.
No. If you watch Bad News Bears, it's really similar to The Thing. It's about a team of men who are all paranoid of one another, are they not? Isn't that what the Bad News Bears is about?
Yeah, that was what the bad news was. Everyone's going to be scared because there's a monster there.
They're like, somebody on this baseball team is an alien.
They're going to explode into viscera at any point. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's the new and improved production talk. Do you guys want to move on to the body of the episode?
Sure.
If
I can remember where it is.
It's right there.
The body of the episode.
Well, we've made it. This is, of course, the portion of this show where we talk about the movie and every single little moment within it. Right from the opening credits, it's a black on white situation. Not much talking.
I'm officially going to do this for the first time in 2025. Take a breath, Jason. There you go. Now you can.
I'm no longer underwater. I am on top of the water. Thank you. Like I said, black on white, pretty standard opening, but it really kind of sets the ominous tone, I would say, which I think was the implied what John Carpenter wanted from that. And this is where we get this is a scene that I always forget is actually in this movie because it's so kind of weird to start a movie out this way. It's just a helicopter.
No. The thing before this, I was going to ask you guys specifically.
I forgot about this too. Like even on this view.
Just a space disc goes to Earth and crashes, and it's like I wanted to ask you guys because this has kind of always bugged me a little bit because I've always been of the opinion that it's not you don't need it. Like, do we need that?
Too. I feel like it sets the wrong expectation because you're like, oh, I'm going to be watching a sci-fi movie. Like it's a spaceship flying.
Yeah, we actually both said Star Trek at the same time.
And then we made out.
Yeah.
Did we put on the wrong movie?
Yeah.
Star Trek. It did feel funny. Because as someone who had never seen the movie before, it did feel a little weird because I have seen little bits and pieces about the thing in like, just the zeitgeist or whatever. And it didn't quite fit with what I thought the movie was going to be.
I agree.
I think it was kind of weird.
Yeah, it feels more like something you'd have in like a Predator movie or like something where it's like the alien is going to be there hunting them or whatever. Like you can slap whatever you want on it, but like it doesn't match the tone. You're right.
When was Alien made?
78?
Oh, before.
Late 70s. It was before this, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because was that like didn't
79?
That? Oh
yeah.
no, I'm thinking something else.
You might be thinking of the Predator, which has
Maybe.
like almost that exact same sequence where it's just like a ship like goes to Earth. But like for that, it makes you see it, and then they give you enough time to forget about it before.
Yeah,
it almost like retracts from the impact of that opening sequence with the dog. Like it removes the mystery a little bit of what's going on there,
Yeah.
And the other weird thing is that like it's like 100,000 years later or something. It's like the ship crashes and then it's like 100,000 years later.
Yeah.
No, is it actually 100,000?
Yeah.
It was some big number. I forget, but yeah.
What? That's crazy.
It was like frozen.
Then why did you show us that?
Yeah.
It could have been like 10 years earlier or 1,000,000 years earlier.
It could have been any number. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think the idea was supposed to be that it was like stuck in the permafrost and like it was like microbial at that point. I think this is what they were going for because I think at this time in like the 80s, they had just started to like really dig into like that type of like carbon dating where they like pull out the layers of ice to be like, oh, we can look at all this different microbial life over so many hundreds of millions of years to see like what existed and what it was like. And there was kind of like an interest to it, but clearly it wasn't that interesting because they still haven't figured it out yet. I'm scared that they're going to open up some sort of tyrannosaur disease and people are going to start turning to lizards or whatever.
Well, as the fucking ice melts, new diseases are going to start popping out anyway. So
I mean, yeah, you go on TikTok for 5 minutes and you hit a conspiracy video trend by accident, and you're like, "Oh, now I'm going to learn all about how the dinosaur diseases are going to kill us." Interesting.
Yeah, I just looked it up on Wikipedia. So this just in. Can you play my "This Just In" bumper? Beep, beep, boop, 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 boop. This just in.
Here it is.
I'm gonna isolate that.
This just in. Oh, he froze. He got frozen in the permafrost.
Can you hear me? Oh,
yeah, you're back.
Yeah. It says Norris estimates that it has been frozen for over 100,000 years. So, yeah, it is 100,000. I thought when I said that, I was like, no, maybe I'm wrong. That's just too crazy.
No,
Like-
I don't know if it says
There's
it on the
too much.
screen here, but I definitely have a note about it later where when they go to the place where they go to the crash site, they find
I
a note
mean,
that's like
it's
100,000
long
years.
enough and it's scary, you know. If something came back to life after 100,000 years, even though I think that's another thing that they've done. They're like, we reanimated worms or whatever from 100,000 years ago, and you're like, whoa, freaky.
They did surgery on a grape.
But then
Remember
the movie, after this disc crashes and we get we flash forward 100,000 years, the movie immediately breaks one of the first rules of filmmaking, which is don't try and kill a child or an animal on screen or a dog on screen, because people are genuinely pretty fucking upset by that in most cases. And you immediately feel bad for the dog. And this movie, I think, wisely used that to its advantage, you know, being like, well, we want them
and I think and I was thinking about this too, because I think I was reading a bit about it, and I think in the original short story, and probably the original movie too, I think it's just like the Thing just shows up. Like, hey guys, the Thing is here. So this was like a fun way of making it kind of get introduced to them like stealthily, you know.
It's definitely far more interesting and spooky for sure, because the whole, almost like a good chunk, a third of this movie is just us not trusting this dog. Like the dog is just hanging out, and every time you see the dog, it's like boom, boom.
So I thought
this
that
dog's evil.
when the dog jumps up and licks, I think Blake on the face, I was like, oh, Thing moved.
Who's
I forgot
Blake?
that this, or
He's
whoever,
the kennel
Carter,
master or whatever
Lonnie?
the fuck his name is. Clark?
I-
Is that his name?
Clark.
They're
yeah.
all.
I thought
I mix up those guys like crazy. I have
Oh,
no
God.
idea
They're
who
all-
anyone is
they're
except
all,
McCready,
like-
I guess.
Yeah, they're all like mostly losing their hair. They're all wrinkly and they're all like white,
white bearded men.
And you're just like, okay, these are all the same man to me right now.
Yeah.
The
I
only
called
person
Anyway,
them
that,
sorry.
Doc in my notes.
the only person
Um,
that differentiates himself well is Wilford Brimley, because he's got a big walrus mustache, and Kurt Russell because he's Kurt Russell and he's very hot, and then Keith David because Keith David has like
David,
the most recognizable voice on the planet, I think.
Oh, and the chef who is on
chef
roller
guy's from-
skates.
The chef too, yeah.
Yeah,
Who is that chef?
he's
guy?
on roller skates while cooking for some reason.
Which
It's
is
that's gotta
Keith
be
David.
a hazard.
I mean,
Yeah,
there's a lot of
Marianna, you might remember-
weird. Once you start getting to know the crew, like there's such a weird, like everybody has a really weird thing about them. Like there's the one guy who dresses like he's in like a gang from the Warriors, and he like always has his headphones. And then the doctor has a like golden nose ring that you only really notice every once in a while.
Wait,
You're like,
is that true? Okay.
that's true.
I thought that I was having like hallucinations.
yeah, he's
The
got a
doc
golden
and
nose
that
ring.
was one of my notes. Does the doctor have a nose ring? Is
And
that
it's like-
real?
It's real, and it's so weird because it's never really addressed. It's such a weird thing for an old man to have. Like a nose ring on an old man is just strange in general.
What a weird choice.
But also a nose ring in the Arctic. You know, fucking cold. You go outside for 2 seconds, that thing is gonna be painful in your nose hole. Yeah, but they all have weird the rollerblades. Even just what's Kurt Russell's dumb hat that he wears.
It's
I know-
the worst hat ever.
I know there's like a pretty like well-known story that Kurt Russell was like, I'm not wearing this fucking hat. Like this hat is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. And John Carpenter was like, listen, man, you're gonna wear the hat and it's gonna be the most iconic, memorable part of this movie. And in a way, it kind of is, because every time I think about him with a hood on and then a big dumb hat on top of it. A hat that
And
makes
goggles.
no sense for the Arctic. Yeah.
That's actually so funny because I don't even remember this hat that you're talking about.
It's a big
I
goofy
have to
hat. that-
Google it now.
It's so strange and out of place.
It's like a prospector's hat, but like 2 sizes too big.
Yeah,
or
like he's
something.
gonna go dig for gold with a pickaxe.
Oh,
That hat.
how
yeah.
did I didn't really clock that? I guess I thought that's normal. Why did I think that was normal?
It's like this is just Antarctica wear. This is what people
Now
wear
that-
in the Antarctic.
Yeah, like I guess I just assumed like, oh, I guess you wear this in cold weather for no reason.
It must be an extremely
I didn't-
warm hat.
That's funny.
Maybe that's what it
Speaking of-
maybe at this time.
Speaking of
now.
weird character quirks, Kurt Russell McCready, he was always drinking what was it, whiskey or something?
Yeah,
In the first scene, he was like playing chess with a computer, and the computer beat him, so he destroyed it. He was just like, well, I'll destroy our only source of entertainment in this isolated tundra.
Yeah,
So
that was one of my other few
like,
notes. It was just man has anger issues, destroys computer.
He also calls the computer a cheating bitch before he
Yeah,
pours
so-
the whiskey inside of the computer's mouth or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess is that meant to show us how he doesn't trust anyone?
It's either that he doesn't trust computers, he doesn't trust anything but his own cowboy instincts or whatever. Yeah. There is a distrust.
There it is.
That's the hat. Gold! There's gold in these hills.
There's gold in the hills.
Yeah, that's insane. I somehow didn't clock it either when we watched it, but
Yeah.
I don't know how I missed it.
Looking back on it now, I'm like, how could I miss this?
I mean, there is
It's
tons
mad.
of insane imagery in this movie, so I guess it's easy for the rest of the crazy stuff to scrub that. If he was wearing it the whole time, maybe. But
I'm
Yeah.
curious, is this movie set in 1982 or is it meant to be
I
in a
don't
distant future or a near future?
Well,
I
I
couldn't really
actually
clock it.
another one of my notes that I remember is like when the doctor crazy like computer like simulation that the doctor is looking at. I think I
Right,
wrote
yeah,
like
yeah.
what
That's
the
why I
fuck
wondered.
kind of AI is he using
Yeah, what is that?
that is just creating this simulation? Like that's what made me feel that's the only part that I was like, is this maybe like in some future time? Because I don't know, like the rest of it does feel well, I don't know, actually. Like now that you say that, I never really thought about it, but now that you say that, I'm kind of like, maybe all these weird little quirks are because of like, oh, this is like a future sort of.
some kind of future. I mean, yeah.
There wasn't really any. Yeah, there wasn't. I didn't really notice any futuristic type of technology or anything besides the chess wizard. Oh yeah, but there was. You're right. There was that strange
The
computer
AI
that, like,
thing, but then
could
like
not
the weird
possibly exist,
hat
that
and an
doesn't
old
exist
man with
today.
an old man with a nose ring.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's the most futuristic part, I think. the old man nose ring.
That's how you show that you're gay in this future. You're an old man with a nose ring.
Oh,
That's how you show that you're gay in the current day.
that's true. That's what I do. Sometimes I load up both ends with them, like a whole bunch of them.
Like 60 of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we get that scene with the dog. The dog makes it to the outpost. The helicopter reaches the American base, where the Norwegian accidentally fucking blows himself up trying to kill the dog, which was pretty good comeuppance, I would say. But also hilarious how incompetent he is because he lights the dynamite and
It's
just
like a
or the
Looney
grenade and throws
Tunes.
it backwards. Yeah.
Or it just
Well, he
slips out of
throws
his
the
hand.
grenade backwards. Doesn't he then run and try to grab the grenade?
He tries to like
That is
bury it in the
lit.
snow.
He's trying to get
Some
it.
point.
It's because he doesn't want to blow up the helicopter. I understand the logic there. Like he thought maybe he could get it in time and throw it away from the helicopter to not blow up the helicopter, but also dumb. Very
It's a live
dumb.
grenade.
Yeah. Also,
Yeah, if
you
that was
know
me,
it's
I
the
for sure
thing-
would have been. Oh, sorry. I was saying if that was me, I would have for sure would have just been running as far away from the live grenade as I could.
Yeah, me too. But it's I don't know if it's inadvertently comedical, but it's funny. Like it is funny that he's just like, and then he just kind of goes like, oh, like he makes like a Norwegian gasp, and then the one guy runs away, and then he goes to dive on it or whatever, but blows up his means of transportation, which I think that's kind of the point of this, right? Is like we need to slowly isolate them to the point that they don't have any vehicles left to be able to escape if they have to. But I mean, we can only assume that these guys have been in some sort of equally as fucked up situation, so they've now lost all sense of reason. So they're like, we just need to kill the dog and make sure that it doesn't get out or whatever.
Right.
And we can find out exactly what that situation was if we watch the prequel. But and I have seen it, and I think I remember liking it, but I don't remember anything about it. But it is about that story of that Norwegian base or whatever.
Yeah, I've seen it as well. I remember being lukewarm on it, but like I was also kind of, I love this one so much that it was like I was bound to be disappointed no matter what they did, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think it was CG, and they went CG, which was like for a movie that is iconically practical effects.
Yeah, that was the
driven.
most disappointing part, is because they had released all these segments for months and months leading up to it of all these practical effects that they had made, and they tested it, and it tested poorly because people that they test movies on now are not people who like The Thing from 1982. They're people who like Transformers: Rise of the Moon Warrior or whatever the fuck. And
yeah, it was 2011. It was right smack dab in the middle of that all.
Yeah, and it didn't do well. But then the makers of that movie, because they were forced to do all this CG stuff, they made another movie called Harbinger, I believe, where they were able to utilize all the practical effects stuff that they were going to use on the new Thing movie. That movie also sucked, but it was more so a writing issue. Like it was just like not an interesting movie with really cool effects. But yeah, it's kind of disappointing because if you look at it's very similar. Like all these practical effects they used were kind of like viscerally disgusting. But then they just made it all CG instead, where it's like, whoa, what happened to the like crazy chest opening up and the finger monster? And it's like, oh yeah, we had to get rid of that because 17-year-old Jimothy was like, not cool enough. It's not even scary. It looks like a puppet. And it's like, it is a puppet, man.
It is a puppet.
Fuck
That's
you,
why it's
Jimmy.
awesome. Like, can we get Mary Elizabeth Winstead in her underwear instead? Which I believe happens in that movie.
Anyway, yeah, I would like to maybe do that one on this at some point, because I honestly can't really remember anything about it. Like it's one of those movies that just didn't stick in my brain. I remember a couple of pieces of imagery, but not like this movie.
Yeah. So as I was saying before, I didn't really finish my thought. I was under the impression that the reason there was so much discourse on the Thing moving around from person to person was because like the dog licks the guy and then he's got it, but that's not the case at all. It seems more like it's like an infection that you get, and then it adds to the bigger thing as a whole. I never really could grasp.
Yeah, I mean, it is like a debated thing about how the Thing works. Like it's not really sort of like fully been explained to a satisfactory point where everybody can agree on it. The way I always thought about it was that it replicates, similar to like, it can copy you and then it'll, absorb other things, right? So like you said, it'll grab onto you and pull you into it, and then you become part of it. But it can also replicate you so that you're just kind of walking around. But if that's also the case, is it bringing you in and also absorbing your consciousness? And are you even aware that you are a thing until like it decides to take over? Like, are you just walking around as a copy of yourself, or how does it work? There's a lot of
one
different
guy like half mutates, and then the other guy busts out of his chest and then becomes like a weird like crab monster. But they keep burning them, but then people keep being things. So that's the confusing part.
That's the other part too, is that like his body is alive and then his head falls off and his head becomes the little crab spider thing, but that's like separate from the other thing. So it's like like your hand could fall off and run around, I guess, as like a hand and like strangle people or something. But like,
I guess it's the point of the blood test.
Yeah. There was the other guy that I forgot everyone's name, but the guy with the red hair who was like kneeling down and he like did that scream thing.
Oh yeah.
And so he kind of was like,
that's the guy on my shirt that I drew. Look.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's so good.
Oh,
that's amazing.
Stephen, how are
you
you
loaded the picture there?
Talented man in the world.
I have this there. That's the picture.
Oh wow, that's so good. So this guy, I feel like he was in the early stages of infection. Like he was, I'm not totally clear on what it does. It's just like oh yeah, when you get infected by the thing, something gross happens. It's like doesn't seem to be like a biological explanation that you could trajectory that you could follow the stages of infection. I feel like it's just like
It's like
something weird.
herpes. When you get herpes, something really gross happens somewhere on your body.
Yeah, and no one knows how herpes works.
Just like the
True,
thing.
that's why they can't cure it. Yeah, they've been trying to burn it off people's bodies for years, but it just doesn't. Stay
Yeah, they send Kurt Russell over to your house. The flamethrower.
So they have a bit of a firefight and kill the remaining Norwegian guy, and they take the dog in. And then McCready's like, I'm going to go take a look around, I think, for more Norwegians. He's like, I'm going up. And they're like, don't go up there. You'll get stuck. It's in a whiteout. And he's like, no,
he wants
I'm going.
to make sure they're okay. I think it's because he's been so like cooped up for so long, like that the whole chess thing where he's like, I've been playing chess against this cheating computer forever. Like he just wants to do something and kind of feel heroic.
Yeah. And these two guys just got killed. Maybe that's something that they should, talk about.
They've got 2 doctors and no therapists on this isolated research station.
This is before they realize they maybe need to have therapists in Antarctica when you're
true.
Most isolated place on Earth.
They definitely weren't.
I can tell you,
Norway's like best warriors. It's just like grenades slipping out of their hands.
let me tell you, if there was a woman out there in that little bunker town.
Oh, I wonder what she was going to say.
Ago.
Oh my God, we'll never know.
Did I disappear?
You cut out just as you said like the end of the point you were making, and we're like, oh, this is more of a cliffhanger than the end of the thing. Yeah.
I said if there was a woman out there, she would have recommended therapy a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All those men need therapy.
I agree.
Everyone needs therapy.
It's true.
Sure. Yeah. But especially if you're living alone with a group of weird in Antarctica.
Yeah.
Doing science, I guess. What are they doing?
I couldn't really. They just have a lot of flamethrowers and guns and liquor.
Yeah, way more guns than I thought they should have for science.
Yeah. It is weird that they have so many guns specifically because, like, if it's for protection, it's definitely only for other humans, right? Like, there's no wildlife in Antarctica, right? Isn't that like, or is it just penguins, I think?
Pretty much.
Unless they're
the flamethrowers. Flamethrowers are useful when, like, exactly. When, like, the doors freeze over and you gotta get in and out of places.
But the Norwegians had like assault rifles and thermite grenades and like all sorts of stuff. I guess if they have to blow up ice packs and stuff, but the guns don't really make sense to me.
Sure. Polar bears? No,
those are North Pole only. Yeah. Things. Maybe they knew things were there. They might be things there.
Maybe the prequel tells us all of this.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is this all explained in the 2011 the thing? This what did I call it? I call it a requel. It's like kind of meant to be a remake that reveals that it's a prequel at the end. Spoilers.
It's a prequel.
Yeah.
Pre-requel.
Marianna, do you want to try leaving and coming back to see if it straightens out your? It seems to have worked for Michael.
Yeah, I dipped out and back in, and I don't know something. We're both in the same house, so maybe we're using up all the internet.
Oh gosh.
Using all the interwebs. I didn't think of that. I should have been like, one of you go on your phone.
One of you go to a coffee shop and say, "I'll just be 3 hours."
Yeah, at a Tim Hortons.
So was it Jason? You mentioned that that the I don't remember the prequel really at all. You mentioned that it's revealed right at the end that it's a prequel. Is that true? Is that how?
I haven't seen it, but I remember. Well, Steve's seen it. It's at the end. I thought it ends with the ending.
Yeah, I think
the beginning of this movie.
Like they're chasing the dog at the end. I that's what I think. But yeah, it's meant to be the other people on the island of Antarctica.
But that's not obvious until the end, or is that like kind of how it's set up?
I can't remember. Maybe we should have done a double feature for this episode, and we should have watched both.
Yeah, that's what we did last.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
be back in like 10 minutes.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
Sounds
Okay.
animal care. So where are we at here?
We're at the point where we are introduced to Knowles, the chef who loves Stevie Wonder and cooking on roller skates. But then the dog goes into the room with the guys, and then it fades out. And once again, he does these fades that sort of notate the chapters or the acts of the film. But in my head, I'm going, does that mean that they're all being infected? So that's I don't think that's what's going on. But McCready,
I've never looked at it as an infection. I would like to talk about this a little bit more because I have played the game. I have watched pretty much all the like consumable media involved with the thing, and I never really thought of it as like a thing that infects you like through the air or through saliva, like, but they do really focus on that dog licking his face a lot,
Yeah,
which makes it feel like that's what they're trying to put across. But I always saw it as like that moment where the dog walks slowly down the hallway and then looks into the room and then goes into the room, and it's super ominous, and like the dog looks like it has this sense of intent, like it's like I'm ready. That's where I'm like, he's doing something there, like he's killing the guy and then replacing him somehow, like he's probably absorbing him. And like that's why when they find the other guy in the Antarctic, where it's like it's all human and it's all here and it's like two people fusing together, it's like the thing is trying to copy itself from the person's body. So like I always looked at it as like it does something to destroy the other body, but it like becomes a copy of you so that it can move amongst you and spread a little bit easier that way. But I could be wrong, but that's how I always looked at it. Is like,
no, I can get behind that. But I just like that guy, the guy on your shirt.
Yeah.
So you're saying he was a copy at that moment?
His name's Thang.
Thang.
Yeah, he was already a copy. Yeah,
that wasn't an infected guy. So the thing just killed. So that because there was the other part that we haven't mentioned yet is that the whole thing about like they can't reproduce clothing, so they tear or whatever. If they rip apart your clothes, then that's how you know that person was got by the thing. So what does that mean? The thing like kills them and then copies them. What does the clothing matter? I guess
just because it's organic material that it can't replicate, like it can only replicate your flesh or whatever, right? So like if your clothing is ripped, you'd be able to, it would be like an obvious tell that it's like it got you.
Yeah. Okay.
Like you ripped out of it?
Or like it just, when it attacked you, if it like murdered you by clawing you to death or whatever, like melting your chest open, like if it burned all your clothes, if you showed up and you're like, hey guys, what's up, and all your clothes were shredded and like there's blood everywhere, you're like,
I'm definitely not a thing or anything.
I'm not a thing, I swear to God. This is just ketchup. It's the chef on his rollerblade. The thing has tried to replicate rollerblades, but they're like organic rollerblades and they're like really gross looking.
But McCready and the doctor, or is it Blair or the doctor? The nose ring guy or Blair? I can't remember. They go out and they find like another research base, which I assume the prequel is about. This area, it's all burned out and looks like it exploded, which is a little bit of a foreshadow for what happens in this. They find a guy who has clearly tried to cut his own head off, is what it looks like. It's like heavily implied he killed himself because he's holding a blade and there's blood coming out of like his wrists. But then they go up and he's got like a giant gash on his neck. So,
I mean, I feel like if there is a situation that is intense enough that I would probably stab myself that hard in the neck to get out of. Like, I think that there is like a level that I think I would be at. And I think a thing situation would probably meet the criteria for me, like almost sawing my own head off to get out of like a horrible, I've been copied by a thing fate.
Yeah, the thing I was having about that scene that I was having a little bit of trouble getting beyond was like the blood had like frozen before it even touched the ground. Like it was like frozen coming out of his hand, and it was like he was inside. Like how cold was it there? How was it? I guess that it was open. Maybe
It might
there
have
was a
been
spark or
already.
something.
Yeah, but like the interior of the base is all like basically outside now, right? So it's like something happened. I think like he probably killed himself after the environmental controls had been destroyed. You know, it was already cold in there.
They mention later in the movie, he's like, it's going to be minus 100 here any minute or within 6 hours. So maybe maybe it was like coming out like, you know how like ice melts into an icicle. Maybe it just slowly oozed out and kept freezing. And
also, though, so cool looking. Like it looks.
Yeah,
so,
it looks
like,
so cool.
like a
there's like a
frozen
sparkle
desert.
to it.
Very
That's
cool.
really cool.
Yeah.
It's one of those moments in the movie that it burns itself in your head, being like, remember the frozen blood guy from The Thing? That's one of those iconic horror moments that I love.
It's like the Home Alone of it all.
It's the Home Alone of it all.
And that's the Home Alone of it all. They find a room that has a slab of ice that has something clearly jabbed out of it, like dug out of it, which is
it looks like a weird big giant space coffin. Like they're like something
Encino
was in
Man.
yeah. Yeah, we were all expecting Encino Man to show up in this movie, right?
the super dirty Brendan Fraser just pops out and it becomes a full teen comedy.
Yeah,
we're gonna bathe this guy so he can integrate with the other teens.
Yeah, there's no women in this movie. What are we gonna do? Well, obviously Kurt Russell and Brendan Fraser have to fall in love now. I mean, or Keith David. I'd be okay with either.
And
but then they subvert our expectations, and it's Wilfred Brimley. He
Yeah.
falls in love with Brendan Fraser. You know, Brendan,
nose
I've
ring
always
doctor.
been attracted to you.
and
Your
they
mustache tastes like soup.
what was that last one?
Your mustache tastes like soup.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I assume they eat a lot of soup in the Arctic.
Oh yeah. Well,
He's scoping your cones. It's my favorite line from Encino Man.
My favorite line from this movie is diabetes. No, I'm just
But they do find some more burned bodies, and one of them is a body trying to like split or replicate or something. And they bring it back with them because that's stupid. That's the dumbest thing. Like burn it more. I guess they don't know yet. They're like, why is it all burnt?
I mean, to their credit, they burn it pretty quick once they realize what the fuck's going on. They're like, burn it, burn it, burn it, burn it, burn it. Why did we do this? Why did we do this? But I think the reason is like they can't thoroughly examine it there because it's all frozen. They have to
Right.
bring it back, and like we need to figure this shit out.
This is where we get our first of two gruesome autopsies. This one's less so gruesome because it doesn't turn into a guy getting his arms bitten off.
The second one is not an autopsy. The second one is like he's trying to like give him CPR.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah. And what I will say too, Marianna pointed this out, and I'm sure if she was here, she would say it. But that scene was like, they really like, there was like a lot of, they were kind of panning across all the people as they were looking at the body. And a lot of the times you were just like looking at the backs of people or the asses of people. And then you'd see kind of little glimpses of the corpse in between them. And it was like a really effective way of like, of kind of hiding the effect. Because if we were just staring at the body the whole time, we would probably see all the imperfections and like whatever, but just catching these little glimpses of these like gross meaty bits and stuff, it was like a really effective, and like hiding a lot of it too. Like it added to the whole kind of mystique of it all. I thought that was a really effective like shot.
Yeah, it lets you fill in the blanks in your head, right? Like to be like, oh, I can. If this is what we're seeing, then what are we not seeing over here?
Yeah,
Well, when
exactly.
How many
cuts it
dicks
open-
does this thing have?
Oh my god, I have so many dicks.
Definitely two dicks, but like this. Sorry. He cuts it open and starts pulling regular looking entrails out. I assume they were just like, cow entrails, but in the way that they do it, it looks pretty good. And he's like, well, he's got pretty regular insides.
He's like, liver is normal, like all this shit is normal and like pretty healthy. Which makes it even more frightening, when you see something like this and you'd expect them to be like, there's something very wrong here, but they're like, no, this is like weirdly very normal. Like this man who looks like he's turning into two men has a proper amount of livers, and they're pretty good looking livers. Like they're not bad. And Wilford Brimley's like, good looking livers. Can I get one of those, please?
Gonna make a soup
For my dad.
He just got a bum liver. He wants a new liver.
Can't produce
What I missed.
one anymore.
Are you gonna recap everything that you talked about?
Yeah,
for me now that I'm
so
back?
Michael did mention your observation
Like just
of
seconds ago, actually, too. Yeah.
the meaty bits between the butts.
Yeah, when they were
the-
doing the
as they-
autopsy.
Hand across.
I feel like maybe that's not the best way to explain it, but
Terrible.
What?
you had made a comment. You had made a comment during your viewing of the movie that there was a very effective camera angle where it was panning between everybody and only showing bits and pieces of the monster, and like you're like, oh, this is very effective.
Yes. Yeah, that is really effective. Actually, for me too. Like, well, actually, I think not just for me, but because they're doing practical effects, like it's like so much more convincing and creepy to show these like pieces of gore, like pieces of body, and like you don't really get a sense of what this big monster is. You just get a sense of all the scary parts of it, close up parts. And it's like, I found it so much more effective than like if you had just kind of like seen a big thing in front of you. And then you like, I feel like if you see the whole picture, your brain is just like, that's goofy. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, that's a weird thing to look at. But when it's just like these moments, it's like, ugh, like it just gives you the visceral feeling instead.
And it's like 100% true though too. Like it's like if you go to those like shitty haunted houses or whatever, and you like go in when you're in like a carnival and you go through it and you're like, this is all very silly. But then if you watch somebody film it and they edit everything in like a creepy way, you're like, oh, it actually is creepy.
Exactly.
But yeah, I agree. And it also like the other thing about it is you're like, whoa, this thing has got to be the craziest monster ever. And then it goes into the autopsy right afterwards. And they're like, no, it's actually just two men like weirdly fused together. And we don't know, everything about it is normal, except for the fact that it's two guys like splitting apart, which is scary. That's a scary concept to find.
This movie has a lot of liquor product placement, but did you guys catch the VHS player product placement, which they just show it, and I think it's so great that it's very of the time. So maybe it doesn't take place in the future, or maybe they just technology stopped at VHS. But the reason I bring this scene up is because I think they're just watching porn. I didn't really catch what was on the screen.
Porn?
What were they watching?
I don't know. I don't know, but I don't remember any porn in this. And I've seen this movie.
Well, when he lights up,
it was like, wasn't it The Price is Right or something?
Yeah, I feel like it was just normal TV.
Or like,
well, he switches over to another
Jason
tape.
admitting that he watched this movie at work and he had porn on one screen and then this movie on the other one, and he confused them.
No. Oh my God. No, it wasn't porn. It was like, was it The Price is Right? It was some game show. And then he's like, oh, I already know how this one ends.
But then it's like, bow, bow, bow. That's what I thought.
No, that's what the theme of Jeopardy was in the 80s. Welcome back to Jeopardy.
I have no idea.
The massive blunt that he smokes, I would in 1,000 years.
This is the other thing where I'm like, maybe it is the future, because like, how the fuck do these scientists have just lots of weed in
Captain Quint.
Antarctica with them? Oh, it's Let's Make
Captain Quint from
idiots.
Jaws is here. Okay.
Okay, well, you gotta admit The Price is Right is a little bit closer than hardcore porn.
I think, I agree.
I never said hardcore. They didn't have hardcore porn in the 80s yet.
That's true.
Also, Let's Make a Deal again? I don't even remember what that one is.
It's the one that's like, you can
door
choose
number 1 or door number 2.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
Wayne Brady hosts it.
Wayne Brady hosts it now. Yeah. I always watch it when I go to my dad's. My fucking dad loves that shit. I'm just like,
my brain was thinking Deal or No Deal with Howie Mandel and the briefcases or whatever.
and all the briefcases.
We need to talk to the banker. Yeah, the Howie Mandela effect. So you just
Yeah. It doesn't mean anything. It's not even really a joke.
Well, I think
It was
that's the
a thought,
T-shirt.
and I had to get it out.
I think that's the T-shirt for this week, Jason. Can you write down the Howie Mandela effect, please?
Yeah, I'll buy one of those.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
I'll
Kevin.
take that deal. I've
So
also
Captain-
seen the thing about 100 times, but I also don't remember this, like what game show it was, because I just don't know what the game show was. I think that's the issue for me, is that I'm like, I don't watch game shows, and I didn't when I was a kid, and I don't now.
The drunk captain from Jaws definitely saw it at the drive-in in 1982.
Oh, yeah.
Even though he died a couple years before.
But then
Yeah.
Captain Quint, when he watches Deal or No Deal, he's like, Howie Mandel, he's got black eyes, like a doll's eyes.
Like a doll's eyes. Sorry, Michael, what were we going to say?
I had a question, but I guess I'll hold it until we get to that scene. So never mind.
Okay. So this is the scene though where the dog that just entered goes in with the rest of the dogs, and we get the dog acting here was incredible. I think they're able to. I can see how this took a million takes. This dog actor really, they made it look like he was looking around these rooms with intent, like I think Steve mentioned earlier. And in this scene, when he walks into the room and just stands there and like lays down, staring at the wall, and the rest of the dogs start freaking out, I thought it was really.
That scene's amazing. It is truly really good. And that dog. I mean, maybe it did take a long time to get the perfect shot, but it was like really good. And yeah, the way that dog just kind of like creepily looks, it reminds me sometimes my cat just like sits in front of the wall, like a foot away from the wall, and just stares at it, and it's like, what the fuck are you doing? What are you looking
both
at?
of them,
The cat
they both do that, and I don't get it. But any scene with the dogs was incredible. Like all of those dogs, that one dog especially, but like just I don't think I've ever seen like dog acting captured quite that precisely before.
What about the dog from Frasier?
Sure, but like usually when dogs
sorry, that's it.
Usually when dogs are captured in movies, like they're like, I feel like there's always this disconnect. There's always this disconnect where you're like, you can see in the dog's eyes that like there's not really anything there. Do you know what I mean? Like they're just following orders. It's always just like you can see, oh, someone told the dog to run over there. So like that, or like someone's holding up a treat. Like you can always see that in the dog's eyes that they're like thinking about something else. So, but this movie it was such a subtle performance from the dogs that they got, which I'm sure like was just they probably had to do it 1 million times. But it was like just so subtle. It was so toned down that and like just captured so well.
Even
it
just
was almost like an alien was controlling the dog, which how do you capture that without filming it 1 million times?
The dog is a method actor. He got actually infected by a thing. But even like the other dogs, when they seem frightened of that dog as well, like you say, everything about the dog stuff just like works amazingly well. And again, I'll say it again. It's one of the reasons that makes this movie so unsettling to me, but like also one of the reasons that I think it's such an effective and interesting and amazing movie, because I still get a little bit freaked out at those moments where I'm like, the dogs are scared of the dog. They know, because they have dog senses that humans don't. We're stupid idiots, and dogs have their instincts or whatever.
Yeah.
And it works. It works so well.
Yeah.
And then we get one of the most horrifying moments in cinematic history. The dog transforms, it starts spraying goo all over the place. This
is the scene that I was watching like just before we started the podcast too, because like I was like, maybe I'll just watch it at ×2 speed and be able to get one last the thing viewing in before we do the podcast. But I was like, nah, I can't do that. There's so much about it you can't watch at half speed. It doesn't make sense. But I started watching it, and just the way it's like shuddering and like everything about it is just so fucking disturbing to my bones. Like it freaks me out.
So, is in your vision of how the thing operates, and maybe this is a question for Captain Quint, the great Captain Quint as well. But like, so this dog is a copy. Then you're saying it's not a dog that had been infected by something in the other base and then came here.
I think it's a copy of a dog. Yeah,
it had been killed already, and the dead dog's over there, and this is the okay.
But the way I also think about it is like, because it has all this crazy shit that it can do, it'll like split off from another version, but it can like absorb the corpse into itself. That's like how I always thought that gets rid of the body, you know?
I don't really think of it as a copy, I guess. I think of it as like, like that it's almost like it has absorbed this creature, and then its cells have just sort of imitated that creature's cells, and now it has become a version of, like, it has just like become that body.
Yeah, and like the way I think about like how it can, if it's being a human, it's also kind of absorbed your mind, your memories, your personality. So it's not even like it's imitating you, it just is you until it needs to be the thing again. So like when you're walking around as the thing, you don't even know you're the thing. Like you're not trying to like,
are you still conscious? You're still a man.
Yeah, it's like it would be you, and then you wouldn't even know you're the thing until you're like mutating and transforming and like biting people with your chest cavity or whatever.
Because I saw it more like you probably know you're the thing and you're gonna deny it, and that's why, and it turns you like angry.
What is scarier though? Like not knowing or not? Like I think not knowing is scarier. That's kind of why my brain always went that route. Is that when you're walking around as the thing, you still think you're you. You still think you're Jason until you start killing people. And then,
that is objectively way scarier. Like just the idea that's like I could be a thing right now and I don't know it, you know, it's like, or whatever, that it's like maybe I'm the bad guy and I don't even know. It's like that's fucking crazy.
Till somebody burns my blood and I just explode into a horrible monster beast. So I think it's Clark comes back, he sees what's happening, he's just like doesn't even know what he's looking at. McCready pulls the alarm, and the dogs are freaking out and escaping, sort of. And the practical effects, of course, are incredible. Incredible body horror.
I think this is the second best moment in the movie in terms of like creature shit going crazy. But
the like flower thing too. I didn't even I watched Little Shop of Horrors recently, and how horrifying the plant looks. I kind of got a vibe from this flower moment here. Maybe the actual thing monster itself is like some sort of like flora, some sort of fungus. Or
it is in the original story. I think it is plant based. I remember seeing about that. But you watch the original, the 50s Little Shop, or the musical, the 80s?
I watched both of them. Like back to back because I was like, there's a 50s version. I had forgotten because it's more like a stage play. It was a stage play originally.
And you're like, Jack Nicholson's in it? What?
As a pervert. Yeah. He's the pervert in the
dentist
original
pervert. He's like, I just really love people drilling my teeth. Give me a drill job.
It was Bill Murray in the
Bill Murray, and then Bill Murray's like, I just really love people drilling my teeth. My Bill Murray. What's up, Gory Tiger? Welcome to the chat.
That was very Kermit.
Hi ho, I'm Bill Murray the Frog. Right. They just unload rounds into it, which seems to cause it to mutate more, which is an interesting ripple to this thing. You have to kill it with fire, basically, because they should have explored that a little bit more. It would have been interesting to see them unload even more rounds, and it just gets bigger and bigger, which is a pretty cool horror trope that I love. And it's about to like go up into the vent, and that's when McCready's like, "Get out of the way!" and just burns everything.
Isn't it?
Which is a
wait, who? Yeah,
McCready like busts in there and is like flamethrowers.
It's great that they're all there though. Like everybody comes in to be like, "What the fuck?" Like there's so many of them, just like shoot it. It's very good.
They get. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I had nothing to add. I was just making a noise.
Did you Did we talk about the dog chewing through the fence?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, but yeah, tell us about
That was fucked up. That was crazy. How do you even make a dog do that? I didn't
was
even understand
horrifying.
that.
You
must
scare
have-
it to death so that it has to get out of the.
That's
No.
awful.
I'm sure they put like stinky fucking meat juice on the thing. Like
And
they
it was
probably.
probably
Yep.
not metal. It was probably like something that was easy to
Yeah.
bend or something.
Licorice.
like
It was
fondant
just made of
or
licorice
licorice.
strip.
Yeah.
Like, the dog
I
was-
want to believe
You
that
guys are
because this
so
movie is,
optimistic.
I know.
this movie is really good, and I just can't.
Listen, I can't think that they maybe had this dog ripping his gums open, biting through actual metal, because it'll make me feel too bad about a movie that I really like. But 10 months, maybe they trained him. They trained him to do it.
They installed new teeth into this dog that are just like metal, like a lockjaw situation.
But they only had to install new teeth because they stole all his teeth to make that one animatronic head.
That's horrible. That's worse than
Oh my
anything.
god.
Yeah. Now they just
The
teeth, guys.
we get another. This is where we get another autopsy. Is an autopsy, not the guy being brought back to life and his chest cavity opens. But we get a little bit of an explanation that the organism imitates things, and they test one of the other dogs to see if it is in fact a thing. And the doc is asking a line of questioning that implies he's worried that he thinks the guy who put the dog in the kennel, like Clark, might be a thing, and this is the start of everybody thinking each other is the thing, and is kind of the part of the conceit of the film. I think the original movie feels way more like an isolated, like everybody paranoid movie, right? That's what I've always thought. I've never seen it, but
Like the 1950s? No, the 1950s one was just like a monster movie. It's not
just a monster. Okay.
It doesn't have the same level of like paranoia is part of it, but it's not, because it's just like a Frankenstein running around shocking people.
Well, I wonder I wonder what the short story was like. Like, was this idea of focusing on the paranoia like just the writers of this 1982 version? That was like their take on it, because it was brilliant. If it was like,
yeah, I don't know, but I do know that, like, I can't remember where I heard about it.
I remember the video game has like a paranoia meter as well, even though it takes place after this. Sorry, Steve, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
I don't remember where I heard about it, but I heard about it probably on a podcast or something, but like talking about how there was a short story written after this one from the perspective of the thing. And it was like just the idea of the thing having sort of this like base level consciousness, and like looking at humans as like, well, I can use this to get to that, and then I can use that to get to this, but I need to go through here and here. And it's like the thing planning out how he's going to like copy himself and eventually like escape the frozen wastes of Antarctica and get to wherever the actual hub of intelligence is on this planet. And like it having
I love
like
that.
yeah, it's kind of an interesting idea. And it like the thing having like an intelligence that is like looking at us not necessarily as stupid creatures, because they're like, if they have this, they must have something else, kind of thing, like being like giving us credit, but also being like, but there's too stupid to, I can trick all of them. It's pretty cool.
They start looking at the recovered information from the other outpost. They see the Norwegians like blowing up the ice, and McCready is like, we got to go to that spot. So they go to the landing site. It's all like dug out. It's clearly a giant, it looks like the spaceship from the X-Files movie, kind of frozen in ice. They climb down into it, and it's this crazy matte painting that they're like interacting with. They like climb down into it and they walk across. And when they find the hatch to get into the spaceship, it's clearly just still the matte painting, which I thought was great. Save on some money there. McCready's hat is hilarious. That's the note I made. And
you're right. That's a true note.
This is where we find out that the hat is possibly 100,000 years old.
It's made out of thing flesh.
Yeah,
it's a thing flesh hat. A thing skin hat.
Thing skin hat. Delightful.
It's so funny.
I can't remember how I wrote possibly 100,000 years old here, so they must have had something.
They say it
written.
at some point in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember where, but I didn't just pull it out of nowhere. I must have heard them say it.
This is Dr. Mugatu or whatever in the chat. What was his name again?
Captain Quint.
Not Captain Quint, yeah.
Dr. Mugat.
I couldn't remember his name.
It's pretty close.
But they do find the spot where the rectangle slab of ice was pulled from.
So what was that? The spaceship crashed and then the alien climbed out and started walking and then froze to death?
I assumed
That's the
it was
idea?
where they found the body of it, like out of the spaceship.
Yeah, so it must have left the ship and then quickly froze to death and then just been stuck there.
I mean, the real question that I have is, was this alien, like, did this alien create this technology to fly around like this? Or is this just some sort of like weird infectious creature, like a venom symbiote style thing that like attached itself to a different alien and like, you know, some other different civilization that outside of Earth and is just using it to like move around the universe like an infection, you know, because it doesn't feel like an alien that would make civilizations and technology. It feels like a creature that would just move around infecting.
Right. And I think that's probably why it's called the Thing and not like anything else, because it is kind of formless and doesn't really seem to have a home body. It's
Yeah,
sort of
Somebody
just
mentioned microbial earlier, and I like that.
Yeah.
So it's possible the aliens maybe are like 100 yards away, frozen. The actual aliens that crash landed here are still there, but we're focused in on one of the aliens that's maybe infected. It got out, and then it starts multiplying from there.
Yeah,
Well,
go ahead.
that thing that they found in the block of ice was the guy with the two faces. Is that what was frozen in that block of ice?
I think that
That's
was
kind of
empty.
what
Wasn't that just
It
like
was
an
just empty.
Yeah, it was just like
Okay.
an empty slab.
Yeah,
So the
'cause
guy
they were
with
like,
the two
"Oh,
faces
something
came
crawled out."
from the Norwegian camp
Yeah.
Yeah.
after the thing had already infected someone. Okay.
Yeah, I really
Maybe
like
from
that.
just melting that ice.
Yeah. I like that thought, Stephen. It's like I think I just always assumed that this is the alien and this is their spaceship, but that is a much more fun lore that I'm going to now.
In my head, I imagine like he killed
back.
all the crew, and now he's in this like weird sort of like fucked up body or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And he doesn't know how to fly it, and he just crashes or whatever. Or he's like, what is the closest? Like he scans out. I keep saying he, like I should just say the thing, the thing. Unless he's got like 8 dicks, he probably has like 1 million dicks that are just growing off of his arms and legs or whatever. But he is using the spaceship to find other, you know, planets that have life on them, so that it can go down there and continue to spread.
Infect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's its whole thing.
I'm gonna go with that. Even though the as far as I know, there's no evidence that that's the case. I feel like that's a lot more fun. So I'm gonna.
Well, no, but I
that is
guess it does make sense if the thing infected some creature that couldn't survive in the ice and came out of the spaceship, tried to get away to some other thing, and then just passed away or froze in the ice.
I just had one thought that maybe kind of contradicts that, because the Blair thing built that spaceship that was like in that style.
The Blair Thing project.
Oh, that's right.
Blair Thing project. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Okay,
right.
but I can counter.
Okay. Yeah.
My counter is that when it absorbs people, it has all their memories and their intelligence and their emotions. So if he did, you know, like infect those other aliens and it was damaged or whatever and it crashed, it would still have the memory in its cellular capacity to be able to rebuild it.
Yeah,
and
and
would know.
I will say that when that scene happened, and I know I'm jumping way ahead, but when that scene happened, I was like, kind of like, that's for that same reason. It was like this creature and like building a spaceship seemed to not
not make sense.
like makes sense.
It's kind of where the movie kind of falls a little bit apart for me.
Yeah.
I just wish that didn't happen. I wish that he wasn't building it. We didn't need it for anything.
Even
No,
with the stop frame near the end, I'm kind of like, I don't know if I like this as much as everything else that I'm seeing. You know?
What's a stop frame? What do you
like
mean by
stop frame animation? You know, when it's like the creature is like a stop frame animation creature.
Yeah.
It doesn't work as well for me as like all the practical in-camera effect they've been doing up until that moment. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that like it doesn't feel like when I watch this movie now, that's the one thing that feels a little bit dated, and I'm like, I'm watching a movie. I'm not watching a spooky, gross movie where dog flower heads are opening up. I'm watching a,
Yeah, and I'm so sorry.
Jason and the Argonauts.
Yeah, where it's just like stop motion.
Jason's nickname in high school, by the way.
Yeah.
And the
anyway, sorry, I jumped ahead there, Jason. I just had that thought.
No, all of that was good.
But this
stuff.
is also one of the things that I love
bureaucrat.
about this movie is that it is like rife with like endless possibilities of like, what do you think it is, and like what could it be, and like what is a more interesting idea than what has been presented to us already. You can just like talk about it forever.
And it's also like, who was the thing? We watched a few YouTube videos yesterday, like of people trying to like map out who was the thing at what time. But like, really, we don't know at the end, like who was, and we shouldn't. I think we can kind of speculate, but I think that's the fun. It needs to end ambiguously. Like people being like, it's this, and John Carpenter did this on purpose. Because no, he didn't. I guarantee he wanted it to be ambiguous, and that's why he's not telling anyone.
This is like one of the reasons that like I was kind of against doing this movie for so long. We used to have like another co-host on the show, and like he wanted to do it all the time because he wanted to talk about that at the end. And I'm like, that's like the least important part of the entire movie.
Is that why you kicked him off the show?
Yeah, he wouldn't stop bringing up the thing, and I was like, shut up about it already.
Get out.
No, but yeah, there is a lot of like, there is a lot of fun in this speculation though. And I mean, for me as a person who had never seen this movie, I mean, I don't even have tons to say, but it is fun to hear theories about it. For me as like a newcomer, it's like, it's still exciting. And
newcomer, that was my name in high school.
Your name? Not even your nickname?
Yeah, that was my birth name.
I was legally named that.
I had to legally change my
You had to change it.
They're doing a roll call at the beginning. They're like, newcomer? And you're like, I mean, here. Present.
Welp. So the dirty shirt was a thing that I wrote down for some reason. I think that Kurt Russell is just like coveting this like ripped up shirt. He kind of figures out that the shirt can't
Sherp.
The long john.
Dirty shirt.
Long john.
Yes.
Right.
And
that's
I wrote,
not a
is
shirt.
that
That's
the
underwear,
thing
my
now?
friend.
It's underwear. It's dirty underwear. It's soiled.
Yeah, didn't the cook come in and say there was dirty drawers in the kitchen garbage or something?
Yeah.
So they have to get rid of their clothes once they transform.
But I'm more focused on this segment here where Blair's running these tests on a computer that shows how the microbe or whatever it is attacks the dog cells and assimilates them essentially. And then that's when I was wondering when this movie takes place because of this technology, but we talked about that already. But then the doc is like, this thing's going to take over the world in like 30 years. And then he opens a shelf and we see a gun. And I'm like, oh.
It was 27,000 hours, which we did the math on. What was it? 3 years? It was only 3 years.
It was like 3 years or something.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense because like even just like being able to spread that quickly amongst 8 people, and then those 8 people go, it's like a pyramid scheme or whatever. If you sell me, and then I'll sell 3, by the end we all make $1 billion per minute.
Yeah. If only we had some historical kind of incident that we could kind of call upon
multiple times over the course of history.
That would kind of something that spread like viral,
some sort of epidemic that is
but anyway,
all across Pangea.
We never had anything like that, and we never will because
religion doesn't exist, right?
yeah.
I mean, sorry, hold on.
Wait, what?
I didn't mean to say that.
They're like, move these bodies into the storage area, and they're like, okay, clearly nothing is wrong with this because we don't know that Blair's running these future tests. Fuchs and Mac go to talk somewhere, and then in the background you see the bodies sort of adjust and move, which I thought was great. And I just wrote a note about how the nighttime exterior looks great in 4K. Fuchs found the research and says there's still cell activity in the corpses, and basically Bennings gets thinged at like the same time.
I have a question for you.
Who?
Guys.
Bennings?
Who the fuck is Bennings?
Who the fuck is Bennings?
This is Bennings.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but
He's the guy who gets shot in the leg at the beginning. Yeah.
Look, I got shot. Maybe I can take a rest.
And they're like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm okay." And then they just give him a bottle of whiskey, and he's just sucking on it, like,
Yeah.
Yum. My question. Wait, what was my question going to be, Jason? What were you just talking about? Sorry, I just
Bennings gets thinged when he's
just
like,
before that.
The bodies
they found
are
the
moving in the
research.
background?
Bodies are moving in the background.
Damn.
The exterior looks great at night in 4K.
Oh, this was the question I was going to. The exterior, yeah. So we all know that like sunrise, sunset in the Antarctic, it's fucked. You know, like it'll be like now it'll be 1 billion years of darkness or whatever
that's accurate.
in the Antarctic.
I think that
Perfect.
that
No
is how it
notes.
works.
But recently they had been like a bunch of flat earth people went to Antarctica and they like funded this expedition for like hundreds of thousands of dollars to try and prove that the earth is flat or whatever. And we've all been watching with bated breath to see what they come up with. Which is that the earth isn't flat. But did you guys kind of hope that they got thinged? I did. That was my question.
Yeah, no,
2025, we have a new pandemic, and it's literally everybody gets thinged into one.
But imagine
thing.
like the worst type of person to get thinged would be like flat earthers, right? Because they'd come up to they like if you're a flat earther and that's all you know as the thing, you would think that everybody thought that on the planet, and everybody would be like, "Get away from me!" And you'd never get an opportunity to like absorb somebody else because they would think you're a fucking idiot.
Flat earthers, people who are thinged and aware of it, and the guy that gets bit in a zombie movie and tries to hide it until he turns into a zombie,
Right.
all kind of
Every
fall into the
zombie
same sphere. Yeah.
It's a trope that happens in every single zombie.
Everything happens multiple times in The Walking Dead across 11 seasons, probably twice a season, in fact.
Yeah,
I actually cannot believe that show ran for 11 seasons. What the hell?
I watched every single episode.
I think there's been 6 or like 5 spin-offs of it as well.
There's
but I think
at least 4. Yeah, you're right.
But I think at least 2 or 3 of the 11 seasons were just reruns of older seasons. No.
Yeah,
Kinda.
Yeah.
And the ones that weren't were remakes of soap operas from like the early 2000s and late 90s.
Yeah, and I think one season was just let's make a deal.
Then they had that one season that was just 60 seconds of silence.
Yeah, and that was a moment of silence for all the zombies we lost.
That's their highest rated season, actually.
It's my favorite season.
They're like, stop. Yeah, so Bennings is thinged. They burn his ass alive. The shit is hitting the fan. Mac gets the flame.
Wait, you didn't answer the question. Do you wish that they got the thinged?
Yes,
Okay.
Of course I do.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But also, I don't want to totally blow past Bennings, who I just learned his name, by the way. I don't want to totally blow past that guy's ritualistic burning, because I think that was such a this was like, for me, top 3 iconic like images and moments from this movie. The sound that he makes, I was like, wait, it screams?
No,
that was new.
That is I think that's probably, a lot of people would agree that is like one of the moments in this movie that is like really sticks with you, him screaming.
The screaming, the weird fingers, and then the just like lighting him up. was, and with everyone standing around sort of watching in this weird like funeral sort of like Viking funerals sort of scene. It was like awesome.
But also like what you say about like the dog stuff, right? Like how the dog choreography and acting is so well done. Like he also does have this weird sort of like animalistic stare on them, where like it's like it reminds me of like if you were to find like a panther in like a bear trap or something, and it would be just like hissing at you, like it's scared. Like I feel like it's scared of everybody around it, like just being like,
oh yeah, his performance on that, and it was important because that moment is important in the movie, and his performance was like, you're right, it was like, yeah, it was so good. It was like you weren't staring at a man or an actor.
It feels alien.
That character,
it feels
was
like
really cool.
Like almost to the point that he feels waxy, like his skin looks waxy, but you're like, no, it's a real person. But like, did they put lenses in his eyes or something? Like, I don't know. Is it just this guy doing a very good weird face? Like, I think maybe it's a combination of all three. I don't know. But yeah, like,
that was such a good moment.
I did this series of drawings like a few years ago, where I was going through all these like horror movies that I love and just like draw one little image from each one, and like this is the only in my head, like what is the best moment of the thing, like the thing that makes you think of the thing, and like this is the only thing I could think of was this guy being like you know, it's like it's the one thing that is like probably the spookiest and scariest part. Maybe the dog opening up, but like I don't know.
The dog opening up too is like a close second, but I would agree this is a very iconic. It's a real change of the movie too, because they're like, oh, one of us is a thing, and anybody can be the thing, and our paranoia is actually real. Like we have to be worried about what's happening now. It's not just speculation.
Yeah, well,
we witnessed it.
That image of them sort of standing around in a circle around him and watching him like burst into flames was like important, because at that point they all kind of are in this together, and like they're all sort of like realizing like, fuck, that could have been any one of us. Like,
and then it was this scene too, I think, where, because you're right, this was the turning point of where that happened. But I think it was like they were a little worried. Maybe they were worried that the audience wouldn't get that, because this was a scene where Keith David also explained the premise of the movie in words.
Yeah.
Like, he was like, well, actually, no one knows. One of us is the thing, and we don't know it, and it could be anyone. It could be any one of us, and I bet we're going to be real paranoid. Okay, see you guys later.
He's like, any one of us could be the thing.
Like, what? Pardon?
That actually the title drop of the movie. So I wanted to say there was a title drop. They say thing at this point a bunch of times, but Kurt Russell coming up basically looks down the lens of the camera and says the thing. I'll get to that when I get to it.
Yeah.
Basically, they're gonna burn the rest of them. This is where we get Blair freaking the fuck out and smashing up the communications room with an axe. Also, they see him like run across the exterior from the helicopter, where they discover the helicopter's been smashed apart. And he's smashing up communications. They sedate the doc and put him in the tool shed. And Blair tells McCready to watch Clark, who was like there with the dogs. And then the other doctor is like, we have to do a blood contamination test. We have to test the blood. The blood is all conveniently destroyed. Then they all start turning on each other about how somebody could have gotten into the little blood bank thing that they have, because only one person.
Is another like reason why I'm like 100% believe that like when you absorb somebody, you get their knowledge and their sometimes like to a point where it's like, even if I knew something in my head that I wouldn't think of as the thing, it might be able to like go through every memory I've ever had to be like, this is important information, and like use it, you know, like the thing is smarter when it's in your body basically than you.
Because it has everything it's absorbed. I like that a lot.
Which makes
so they're all
the thing would have, because it was fully a thing that destroyed that blood. So how would he would have had to know where the key is, that the blood was important and that they needed to be destroyed and all that stuff.
Wait, I got kind of lost here. Who did open the blood? Like, which one of them, or do we not know which one of them
Well,
actually destroyed the blood?
Destroyed the blood. I don't think we know who did that.
So Gary was the guy who was like in charge of that, and they look at him like,
Well, he's
"You're the only person with the key," and there's like, somebody could have lifted it off me, and then it's
Right.
like, well, no, you have it on your tool belt, and then I think he's the next one to be revealed to
Jason,
after
you're
they
right.
do the blood test.
He's the
Yeah.
one that like goes bananas. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Wait,
As soon
he
as they burn
is?
his
I
blood.
thought that was the guy that's like, get me off this fucking couch. You know that guy?
Yeah, it was
Was it
that
not
guy.
that guy who
Yeah,
had the
right,
key?
yeah, you're-
That guy
you're
had
right.
the key.
You're right,
Yeah.
Jason. You're wrong. You guys are right. And what has happened in my mind is I've swapped faces for people.
Because
in
Yeah,
movies.
I mean that happens so much.
Too
for
many
me in
old
this
white
movie.
men. I'm sorry. Yeah,
I mean, that is a
so
sign
insane.
that the movie needed some diversity.
Norris.
desperately.
they needed more than
Norris.
2 black people, a woman, maybe an Asian guy could have showed up. John Carpenter usually has lots of Asian people in his movies. I don't know why I didn't throw one into this one, but you know,
So I got Gary and
Larry
Norris
The
mixed
other
up.
guy's
Yeah,
name is Larry.
Yeah, but you're right. It is Norris. Yeah.
right.
Yeah, Gary is supposed to be. This is the movie that also taught me as like a young man to like never trust the narrative or like the obvious narrative, because everybody that is projected as who's going to be the next bad guy is not.
Mhm.
But it also made me trust nothing every time. It's like it made me ultimately paranoid in my real life, where I'm like, don't
This
trust
movie
anything. that's in
traumatized
it.
you.
I think so. Yeah, a little bit.
You know, I've never seen
But-
They Live, but is it similar kind of vibe of like don't trust anyone and stuff? Or
Not
More like
really.
don't trust
They
the,
Live is-
the corporate machine.
They Live is also far more funny. Like it's
Yeah.
it's sort of a parody on you know, like capitalism in general, and it's a lot more lighthearted. But I recommend it if you haven't seen it. Yeah, it's so good. It's
Very
probably
good.
my second favorite John Carpenter movie. After
and
this.
your first is Cool as Ice. The one you did last week.
Well, yeah, but that one's just the ultimate, and then everything else is a penultimate to it. But you know, I'll you know.
Yeah, it's my favorite movie above all. It's not just my favorite John Carpenter,
Yeah.
but
It's my favorite movie ever made. Yeah.
ever made.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. Me too.
I had to ditch the zero and get with the hero on that one, I would say.
As soon as you see Vanilla Ice stick an ice cube into somebody's mouth while they're sleeping, you'll never go back to regular cinema ever again. That was footage for me.
Wow.
That was footage for me wrestling in high school.
Yeah.
You were good.
Breakdance
That
fighting.
was sensual.
Yeah.
It's so weird. I love that little sequence. I'm gonna
There
play
are
it in every
multiple parts
episode
where
forever.
he puts his face in someone's butt and like somebody puts their dong in his face, and it's great.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
There's simulated gay sex at the beginning of that dance as well.
well,
Yeah.
we all know Vanilla Ice is straight as an arrow, I guess. I don't know. Hard as an ice cube, straight as
Hard
an
as an
arrow.
ice cube, straight as an icicle. Yeah, so they decide on a new person being in charge through this debacle. Basically, McCready's like, I'm in charge now. Like, what's his face? Keith David's character, Cloudy? No,
Child's
Creamy.
Child.
Childs pulls a knife.
cloudy, creamy.
I don't know.
The heck?
Really caught up on that dance from a moment ago.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's not. Is it even Childs that pulls the knife? It's. I think Clark is still alive.
Oh, pulled a knife. God, I don't
He
know.
gets shot in the head here. Anyway, they're all at each other's throats with weapons. McCready takes over. We also get the great scene of McCready just like drinking Jim Beam and like recording himself being like, I just want there to be proof that all of this happened. So I'm going to record onto this tape and hide it somewhere. And then at the end of the movie, they blow up the whole base. So I don't even know what this.
Yeah.
Fuchs goes outside after the power goes out in the lab. He sees like a go by. He like, who's there? It lights a candle. The boys argue some more, and then they split up to go looking for things, I guess. I don't really know.
Let's go find these things.
Let's go find these things. Then they find what they believe to be a burned Fuchs. They find his like glasses, and Max lights are on in his shed. He's like, I turned my lights off. And I just wanted to, I was watching this afternoon and it was kind of cold in my apartment, but the like how cold this segment of the movie seemed really made me feel colder. I don't know if you guys got that as well. I know that's kind of stupid.
This is a very cold movie. No, Jason, it's not. Like movies are meant to do exactly what just happened to you. So like that's a good thing that you felt that.
The first thing that Michael ever told me about this movie was there's a lot of winter in this movie. Can you handle that? And I was like, no. But is this all before or after they find McCready's like clothes in the snow?
I don't think I think the other crew finds them around this point when they're split up.
Oh, okay. Okay, because there was like this is around the time when I started.
It's literally right now, actually. Yeah.
Okay.
Because Knowles or whatever the cook.
I started getting very suspicious of McCready around now, and especially because he was like, "Oh, Childs, you're gonna come up with me to my bunker where I left the light on," and I was like, "The fuck is he up to?"
Yeah, what's
and
going
then
on?
Yeah, and then
they were like, "Oh, they've been gone for 45 minutes," and it's like, "What the hell are
then
they doing?"
They had sex.
You guys, because then the one he's like, "You guys go back and tell the other guys about Fuchs, and we're just gonna go turn off the lights in my bunker." And then it cuts to those guys, and they're like, "How long have they been gone?" And he's like, 45 minutes. It's like, what? Yeah. You guys didn't think until now that was too long.
There's actually like a deleted scene, I think, from the movie where it shows that, and I think it's this.
That's how you become. That's how the thing moves from man to man.
It was a 45-minute deleted scene, and it was just that.
Yep. Okay. Asked and answered.
Yep. I think that also brought down the stream on one of my Facebooks, on my personal Facebook. It's like, no, can't play that.
You can't play gay pornography on your Facebook, Jason.
Yeah.
Only regular pornography.
That tracks. They try to lock Mac out as he tries to come back in, and then he's like trying to open the door, and then he's just in the supply room. Like, I guess he crawls in through a vent or something. Wasn't super clear to me how he ended up in there. We also see it's because Knowles, the cook, finds the torn McCready jacket. He makes it to the supply room, threatens to blow the whole place up. He's just holding dynamite. He's like, if you guys don't stop acting a fool, I will blow us all to smithereens. That's like, awesome.
It is good.
And then
I also love how cold he looks. Like he looks all frosty.
Yeah.
Like, I'm cold as shit right now, guys. Please.
Do we know what happened to McCready's clothes? Why are they ripped up?
I assume one of the because my brain at this point is like there's multiple things. Like, it's not just one. Like, there's probably a few of these guys have probably already been taken out and transformed into things. So they're like, we need to sow the discontent. We need to sow the paranoia. We need to make sure that everybody is fearing each other, because it's only going to benefit us, because it'll distract them from us now building our spaceship underground or whatever the fuck.
And so no one at this point is thinking that McCready is actually a thing?
I think everybody is. Like, I think
at this point,
yeah. I think
because the theories, like some of the, we didn't watch tons, but some of the like fan theories about who becomes a thing when kind of timelines, like, didn't really seem to land on McCready being a thing, or like, even if, like, I guess they kind of were like maybe, but like no one really went down that road too hard, and often it would end up in the end being like, see, now he suspects Childs, and it's like,
yeah,
But I had this very strong feeling that like McCready is I don't know, either like overcompensating or like hiding something, or
Well, that
like,
means the
just
movie is working.
yeah, the
Yeah.
movie worked for sure. But I just mean like I guess in all the theories I've seen, I haven't seen someone really dig into that as much for some reason, where I feel like it's kind of a more prominent
So
one.
the way like I kind of always look, especially in Carpenter movies, is like there's usually a character that you as the audience are supposed to sort of be like riding along with as the vessel.
Yeah.
And when I feel that way, I'm always like, this is the person that we have to trust. And
Yeah.
if we don't, then you can't trust anybody. And he is the character in this movie for that.
I would
So like,
agree.
so even when I
Yeah.
was young, I was always kind of like, it's no way it's him. It can't be it. Like if they make it obvious at the end, like if there was a reveal at the end where he's like, like he goes crazy, I'd be like, "Whoa, fuck!
Like,
Didn't see that
Thriller
coming."
music video, he looks at the camera and his eyes are yellow.
Yeah, or his hand is just
Yeah.
big. Oh my god, his hand is so big.
Dun,
No, I
dun,
get that
dun, dun.
he is our anchor, and I
Yeah.
get that, but I think the movie just instilled such a paranoia in me that I was like, actually, there's like even this guy who's supposed to be my safe guy
The safe
is
man.
not trustworthy. I think they found his clothes twice with his name on it or something, right? So and like
Yeah.
I just kept being paranoid about him too, where it's like most movies will give me an anchor, but this one really didn't. It took that away from me, and I was like very
But they don't even really
uncomfortable.
like answer it at the end either, right? Which is like
Yeah.
I think that one of the strengths of the movie and why it has such a long lasting discussionary value, which is like we can talk about this forever, is because like we're never ever gonna like sit down and
Yeah.
solve the mystery of like who's the thing and who isn't the thing. And that's why this movie works so well.
And we're never going to solve it because I think intentionally
It's not solvable. Yeah.
and it's the movie's more effective if it's not solvable.
I agree.
If it was just like, oh, it was
Mhm.
Childs or it was McCready at the end, then it's like, okay, well, then we have an answer. You know, I think it's like having the whole movie that's about mystery and not knowing who is what and not trusting anyone. I think you
Yeah.
have to be left on that feeling. You have to.
And I think John Carpenter has said as much like a million times. Like anytime somebody's like, "Is he the thing at the end?" He's like, "Well, what do you think?" Like he always just he's like, "What do you think that they're the things? Maybe they're both the thing, and they don't even know anymore because the things are confused." Like he'll just like confuse you even more. You're like, "All right, John." And then he
Yeah.
goes to his synthesizer and he's like, "Ding, ding, 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 ding." I'm just scoring the next Halloween movie.
I have in my notes from I don't really use the AI anymore, but one of the fun facts literally says John Carpenter intentionally left the ending ambiguous to fuel debates about who, if anyone, was still human. It says trivia next to it, so I feel like it was pulled from IMDb.
Trivia
Because
is
of-
like, who's the real alien at the end of the scene?
This is the scene though where the guy has a heart attack. I can't remember who it is. I'm so confused by all these old white men at this point. But the doc gets on top of him and starts administering CPR, and the
Oh,
fucking
yeah.
body cavity opens up, and his arms go in, and he loses both arms and fucking buys the farm.
Yeah, that was
And
wild.
Right.
this is where we get the guy's like head melts off and turns into like a crab alien.
Mm.
I'm wondering if this is from
Mhm.
another planet, something that assimilated in the past, or like this is what the things actually look like, because a lot of when they go grotesque, they look like weird space ocean monsters almost. But yeah, chomps the doc's arms right off, and the head still lives.
It's
And
this is like the most cartoony, but also like the most disturbing part, I think, because the teeth are so like I think the idea was it's like the rib cage is meant to be the teeth, but they look like fucking shark teeth. Like they're so like like
Triangular.
spiky. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's so good. And also, fun fact, I should have been dropping more fun facts for this. I have a ton.
Oh, I want to hear them all.
they bite the guy's arms off, and then for all of the coverage, like the long shot coverage or the wide shot coverage, I should say, they hired a guy with no arms to be running around with no arms in the sequence, and it's really effective, as we would say in the Pokemon verse. Super effective. This guy's got no arms. I believe it. And that's how they had to do it before CGI. You know, that you couldn't have Chris Hemsworth running around with no arms. You would hire a Chris Hemsworth lookalike who has no arms in real life to run around from the back and just pump blood out of his
all
stomach.
those opportunities in Hollywood for armless guys just down the drain.
It's true.
It's tragic.
And you know what? I think it would probably be cheaper just to hire a guy with no arms and put some some squibs in his armpits or whatever, squirting blood
Spend
out.
thousands of dollars on CGI that looks shitty like 10 years later. They want to tie up Childs, but he'd rather die. A gunshot goes off and gets Clark right between the eyes, so he's toast. So now they've got like 3 dead people in the course of like a couple minutes. And then, well, guess what happens, everybody? Guess what happens now? Your favorite moment of the show, as soon as I can just find the fucking thing here.
That's when they said the name of the movie in the movie.
This is the first time?
No, they've said thing a million times, but McCready's doing this grand like monologue about how we have to figure this out because it's not going to get any better, and he says the thing.
Right.
I wanted to be pedantic about it.
Yeah,
thing is such a common word.
That was for sure notable for me too. I clocked that as like, he basically looked down the camera and was like the thing.
Like while he's talking, he looks across the thing and then keeps talking. That happens at 1 hour, 19 minutes, and 25 seconds as well.
It's interesting how time changes things, because like the thing now as a name of a movie is like maybe a little corny, but like it was a smart choice to drop the from another world. I think we don't need that. We don't need any of that.
Yeah.
We see that in the first 10 seconds of the movie where the thing comes from another world. Done.
Yeah, they nailed
the original short story from the 30s is actually called Who Goes There? So imagine if this movie was called Who Goes There?
And then there was like another alternate version of it, I think, that was called Frozen Hell, which is also really on the nose.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
I think isn't that the third Frozen movie coming out sequel? I think so.
Yeah, I think so. There was, I remember, an episode in early seasons, maybe the first season of the X-Files, that was like, couldn't have been a bigger ripoff of this movie. It was like set at a research facility in the Antarctica or something, and it was like the same thing. Everything was the same.
I mean, most episodes of the X-Files were a ripoff of something. It was basically just a bunch of like writers in whatever universe TV writing world where they were just like, let's just do little miniature episodes of everything we love for the longest time, which I kind of appreciate. You know, like I kind of like it.
Yeah, I mean that's why we got Vince Gilligan and the great Better Call Saul.
Yeah, that's the only thing he's known for besides X-Files. They're going to draw a little bit of blood from everybody. Let's see. We're going to use a
This is it, folks. This is the episode. I mean, this is the moment in the movie. This is the moment that we've all been waiting for. The blood petri dishes or whatever they're called.
And if the blood reacts and doesn't just sizzle, well, we have ourselves a thing.
Can I say too? Sorry, Jason. Go ahead.
Oh, they pulled way too much blood.
Oh,
Why
I was
so
going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
They like took the knife
from here to here.
They like cut all the way down their body. It's like you just
like patching it in a bucket. Like why was there so much?
I like that the doctor when it came to him, he just grabbed his nose ring and ripped it out, like poured the blood.
Yeah, that was a weird choice, but I liked it.
It was good though. It was good.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Michael?
Oh, I was gonna say the same thing. I was like, they really just dragged that knife across their thumb. Like, there's there's easier ways to draw blood than that.
Yeah,
There's so
Windows
many
Well,
other
cut
places
his whole
to
thumb
draw
off,
blood from.
basically.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't even talking about the slice across the thumb, which is so true. But actually, I wouldn't have known that because I cannot watch people cutting. So I was just like, nope, 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 nope. And I had to wait for Mike to tell me it's over. But
Yeah.
I was talking about the sheer amount of blood in those petri dishes, which was like truly like, I don't know, half a liter, like just so much.
How did
Like a
they
full
figure
petri
out?
dish.
Yeah.
They might as well have used shot glasses. They should have just been like,
Yeah.
all right, everybody. He's just like pouring his blood into multiples. And it's like, no, we just need one shot.
How did they figure out? Maybe I missed this. Was this through the magical computer? That like if they took a
The
hot
reason
copper
for the
wire,
blood testing?
Yeah, if they
They
took a
knew
hot
that it
copper
reacts.
wire. They knew.
This
I
is
can tell you
based
the
off
reason
the
for the
blood
blood
thing from
testing.
before. Yeah.
It's
Sorry,
it's
Marianna.
I think actually I mean what I remember McCready saying was that because that when he cut off the head or when the head fell off of the corpse there of that one thing guy and it became like a crab creature that started attacking and then running for its life, he said it seems like every cell of this thing has survival instincts of its own. Like every little piece that you cut off like becomes another thing and like attacks or tries to survive in some way. So the idea is that if you try to hurt the blood, it will also, I guess, run away or whatever.
Yes.
React in some way. Is that right?
Yeah, no.
Yeah. It's also based off of the original blood thing they were going to do, but I think that was going to be more under a microscope. And this was like blood.
Yeah.
My favorite part of this whole movie, I think, happens during this sequence where every time they test a blood and they're good, it shows the coach with one less person and they're on the other side holding a weapon at the remaining people.
Yeah.
That's like the comedy in this movie is very subtle and very sparse. But I just thought this whole sequence was just like, I was laughing out loud at it. Like, okay, we're testing your blood now. Cut to, and then
And they were
one less
like,
person on the couch.
and to Gary or whoever, the guy that everyone was like, you had the keys, it has to be you. And he
And
was
he's
like,
like,
we'll do you
locked up.
last. And it's like,
He's got,
why
like-
would we do you last?
Yeah. Well, he
Yeah.
does keep, he keeps, yelling like, it's not me. And they're like, sure it isn't, Gary. You fuck.
Sounds like the kind of thing a thing would say.
Yeah, that's a classic thing.
That's a thing to say, all right?
A thingism.
So Palmer turns while Childs is still like tied to him. Palmer turns and eats Windows, which was great. Windows is revealed to just be like half thing, like turning in the corner. They flame both of them.
But he's doing like a crazy, scary, like, and he's like moving around in the chair and then he like, and then when he's eating the guy and he's like flopping him around, like it's disturbing. It reminds me of like The Exorcist or something, like when you're, and it's just like this weird visual that you're not used to seeing that like makes your gut feel like, oh my God, this is fucked up. I don't like this. It's so unnatural.
Yeah. It was,
And then when they light Palmer's up and he's still moving towards them, and then he just like runs right through a wall, which was right to the outside, which was crazy too.
I have a question about this. Marianna asked me this question when we watched it, and I didn't have an answer. So they tested his blood, and the thing came out, like whatever came out of the blood, and then he started like convulsing. Like, what is the connection there? Why would he have revealed himself in that moment when he was like, I guess because they knew or something? Or what was
right.
'Cause it's
Yeah.
his
My
blood.
question was like,
because it was his blood and
okay,
it was
yeah,
somehow
so-
connected. Is that the idea?
Well, because
Well, he's
right, but so
found
his
out,
blood
now
is
he's gonna
separated
consume.
from his body, but is it? Yeah, so that was my question. Is it? Does he react and become the thing because he was found out, or
that's
is his
what,
body reacting to the pain of what
interesting.
just happened to the blood?
Like, does he still feel connection to the other pieces that
Yeah.
are removed from him? I don't know, actually. That is an interesting question, but I always took it as like he's like, I got to get out of this chair because they're going to burn me alive if I don't get out of here. Like it's
Mm.
but maybe
But then the stuff like explodes out of him and like he becomes a creature,
yeah.
doesn't he?
So
Yeah.
but I feel like
Why
the thing
would the thing reveal itself that
because
way?
it's his
They
blood.
knew at that
It's
time
his
anyway.
blood. There, he's already been revealed through the blood. So like, might as well
Okay.
just pop out and kill you now.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I guess for me it would be like, well, the thing is imitating this human man. So why wouldn't it, I guess, stay and try to convince them that no, that's not my blood or something? You know what I mean? Like instead of just
Didn't they
instantly
take
be,
the blood
oh,
from
forget
them?
it, I'm a thing.
Yeah. They
Yeah,
literally just like cut his thumb in front of them, right? So
right.
But
Yeah.
I mean, if the thing was smart, it could be like, but maybe I'm not fully a thing yet. Like it would try and like, and then they would like lock him up or something. Yeah. There are other ways to approach it, but I think to the value of the movie, it's horrifying when
it's really great.
when it like flies out and then he's like, "Rah!" Like going crazy. It's scary. It scares the shit out of me. It's still freaky, man.
Yeah.
So naturally, after those two things are burnt, they're like, well, what's Blair up to? He's been up in that shack drinking. Maybe he's a thing. We never really pinned that down. They get there and it's revealed that so this is where I wonder about the passage of time in this movie. There's a point where they're like, let's just wait till spring. Like, so you're just going to wait it out. It could be a month. It could be 3 months. I don't know. But here they go to the shack and Blair has dug into the ground, created a whole like cave and built most of a spaceship.
In 2 days?
I guess.
How long has it been? Yeah.
Or has
a great
it been
question.
A month or weeks or what? It's kind of hard
but
to
it
say.
all feels like it went so fast. All of this happened so fast. So like when did he build this? This is where I agree with Steven that like we didn't need this spaceship.
And I know how much it pains you to agree with Steven, but I just have to.
I never have before.
I know. Nobody has. But I mean, the movie works so well and it kind of just feels like they need to have a thing. But I'm like, they already have a thing, and it's the thing in the thing.
Yeah, I totally agree.
From the end,
I actually thought I was watching a director's cut because of this sequence. I was like, is this not meant to be in like
this feels like this part this feels like
that's
it's
how
not
out
part
of place it is.
Yeah.
That's how I thought. It's so the fact that we all felt without having talked about it beforehand, that exact same way about that, I think is telling.
I think that most people feel that way though. And it is the unfortunate kind of like reality of this movie is that it's so good in every way. And almost like 99% of people you'll talk to about the thing that love it will be like, the end is kind of like, you're like, well, we don't really like the end that much. But like
the end, the last scene, or like the last
just like from here
last act of like everything kind of, because it just sort of falls into the trappings of just like a regular action-y movie, like it doesn't feel like the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
And even when I think about this movie, which I do a lot, I don't think about that part. I think about everything leading up to it. I'm like, what are the strengths of this intro to this movie and the second act of this movie, and like what are all the great things about it? But when it comes to the third act, I'm like, let's just forget about that because we don't really care about it because it doesn't really add to anything. All it really does is just wrap things up. That's what it's designed to be there for. And you could try and like come up with a better ending for the thing, but like it doesn't really matter because what the thing is to me is like everything in those first two acts. It's so fucking perfect. It's so good.
What the thing is to me is everything.
What the thing is to me is the friends we made along the way.
The things we thank along the thing.
What
Child's
the thing
now
is to you? Anybody else?
Tell us in the comments what the thing is to you.
It's hey, while you're there, smash that like button.
Mm-hmm. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you'll never miss another video on what the thing is to me and what the thing is to you.
Stay tuned to the thing-eyed thingist. The thing theorist. Childs is now acting crazy. Sorry, I fucking botched that.
No, I understood what you're doing at the end of it.
Yeah.
It was like, oh,
the thing theorist.
Yeah, that's a real third act thing move for you to do, Jason.
I went too hard in the paint and I built a spaceship for no reason. Childs is now acting crazy. He blows the generator. Is he now a thing? They blow up the spaceship under the ice. They also start just blowing everything up and starting everything on fire. And they're going to raise the whole place to the ground. Blair shows back up and sticks his hand in Gary's face, like in Deadpool and Wolverine, where the bad guy has that thing where she can like read your mind, but she has to stick her fingers in your head.
That's so gross. That part was actually one of the most grotesque parts of this movie for me, because it was I don't know, really well done. It feels like it was
like a
quite
weird
convincing
practical effect over the face that the hand was
I hated
installed into.
every second of that.
Yeah.
Was this a reveal of how the thing like starts looking at its prey or something? Because what was this?
It was new, right? It didn't feel like something that the thing had been revealed to do before.
But
So it was like a new sort of mechanic that the thing has.
What we have never seen in the movie is how the thing like absorbs or another person or imitates them or whatever. So maybe it was something with that.
That's what I was
I
thinking.
don't know. The thing just does so many different things that I feel like I'm not putting anything past it at this point in the movie. I'm like, oh, it does that too?
Yeah.
Okay.
That thing
It lost
got
its
it
own
all.
plot. It's
Yeah,
got too
whatever
many
it is.
things.
It's whatever it is, it's going to be gross.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'm
It
going to
doesn't-
love every second of
The
it.
only thing we know about the thing is that when it does something, it's always going to be gross. Every single time it's going to be nasty. That
What the
thing
thing is to me,
nasty.
gross.
Me too.
We see it goes into like super mode. It goes into like full thing mode here where you can see basically everything gets assimilated. It like opens its chest and it's got the two mutated dogs and it's got all the people that it's been and the blinking eyes of all the people. I assume it's assimilated. McCready throws dynamite at it and the whole base goes up because during this sequence they've been like setting the place to blow. We also get that scene where it like goes underground. It can do a thing where it goes underground as well, and like shoot through the ground, which I thought was a cool sequence. But I'm like, how many things can this thing do? So many things. Everything. And when the research center explodes, we get like a really cool explosion, like almost a mushroom cloud, kind of like, a lot of dynamite explosion. Was that a mini? Was that a mini that they used for that, or did they like build a fucking place and blow it up? Do you know that from any of
I don't know. I honestly cannot. I can't recall, but I wouldn't put it past them building something because like they had all those structures that they probably built for the movie, so why not blow them up? But it could have been a mini.
It's also like we get one shot at this.
Yeah, but a lot of the stuff in this end sequence does feel miniature to me because of you can just kind of feel it. You can feel the weight of like when like little boards are flying, and you're like, that's not big. That doesn't match the level of size and scale of that fire that's behind it. So I don't know. Leave it up to your imagination, Jason.
Childs confronts McCready.
Imagination Jason was also his nickname in high school.
That's still my nickname. Childs confronts McCready. He says he went after Blair and got lost in the storm. And they were both the two of them are just wiped out. And this is like the movie just kind of ends here with McCready being like, well, why don't we just wait here for a while? Because the heat is so high. And
so do we want to talk about it, or do we want to just like not talk about it? Like
I don't know. I think in my
there's
heart of
so
hearts,
many theories about
right.
like who is an alien, who isn't an alien, and should we care or shouldn't we care? But like, I think that I don't care, and I kind of like that I don't care because it's the best sort of ending is like maybe they're both things and they both don't know, and like that's
I'm
kind of
concerned.
how I like
if we talk about it, this guy might fall further asleep.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I will say that I I definitely don't care. I think I like that it's ambiguous. I think it was intentionally ambiguous. So it's like talking about it is kind of pointless because I personally believe that it was written to not have an answer. So if we find an answer, we're just making it up. That's what I believe. But also, McCready said two things in that last scene. One was, well, the thing just wants us to. The thing wants to freeze. And then just get thawed out later by someone else. And then immediately is like, let's just wait here and freeze. So that was like, I was like, oh, well, that's weirdly contradictory.
Yeah, I clocked that too. But I also agree that like I don't think there's any point debating like this or that theory. I think the whole beauty of the movie is just to like sort of wallow in this feeling of uncertainty.
Can you imagine if it just ended like knowing? Like that would be a terrible ending.
Yeah.
It would still be like a cool movie, but it would not have this kind of impact at all.
Yeah. Doesn't add to the paranoia of it all. If you just know. I forgot that's how this movie ends. And I was like on the edge of my seat. I was like, what's next? Credits.
No, me too, because I've never seen it before. So I really I wasn't expecting it to end like that. I was sitting there and then credits happened and I think I asked Mike, like, is it over? And he was like, yeah.
Like, is there a post-credit sequence?
Oh yeah, Nick Fury comes and he's like, we got to recruit the thing.
The thing will return.
We got to put the thing initiative.
And by the way, the thing was McCready all along. Bye, folks.
And it's like him made of stones.
All right, the thing, the other thing,
the other thing.
They were both things. Neither of them were things. It was all the things we thinged along the thing. So yeah, that's the movie, The Thing. We can very easily rush into our final thoughts because I got rid of some stuff.
The game that takes 20 minutes. Whoa! Yeah. It's time to play the. No, I'm just kidding. The final thoughts. Wait, no. Is it the final thoughts?
Well, okay. So this is I was gonna say, do we want to just start using the Home Alone of it all as the final thoughts? Because what I want to do now is amalgamate. I'll explain it. Yeah, I'll explain it.
You don't have to explain it. Let's go.
If you had to pick one,
what do you think the Home Alone of it all?
When is the Home Alone of it all?
Can someone please tell me when the Home Alone of it all?
I really gotta know.
When is the Home Alone of it all?
When is the Home Alone of it all? Now that's the Home Alone of it all.
So, if you're new here, the Home Alone of it all is the idea in the movie Home Alone where Kevin McAllister slaps down the blueprint to indicate that we're going into that final chapter where he's going to murder two grown men. But also, this is the time now that you can give your final thought, give your rating for the movie. And I know I said the guest never goes first. But since you've both been on the show before, Michael, most recently, Michael, why don't you give us your Home Alone of it all and your final thought and your rating?
No respect at all. Yeah, okay, Home Alone of it all. For me,
Michael, why don't you first explain the Home Alone of it all to that person in the chat? Yeah,
I think Jason just did.
I just explained. You can also just be like your favorite part. It can just be like your favorite part of the movie, is what I kind of want to boil it down to anyway.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. I think the part, and for me, I think I usually. Okay, no, Mr. Miyagi knows what it is.
Oh, I just wanted to hear you explain it.
He's just trolling Jason, I guess. Okay, so yeah, for me, usually I go like either the most memorable part or like what I was kind of looking forward to when I was watching this movie again, since I've seen it before. And for me, 2 points. It was Steven, stand up for a second. That part. That's one. And then the other part was the whole scene of them testing the blood and all that. That one really stuck in my mind.
I almost got too high. I'm not wearing any pants or underwear.
Oh no.
Straight Donald Duck in it.
That would be like really it'd be like a tendril coming out of the Bennings. Big hairy tendril. The scene when they were doing the blood test was like one that really stuck with me, and I was like looking forward to it when we were watching it again. And it was kind of really the apex of like everyone like pointing fingers at each other and who is it? It was you. Paranoia. So like that was like a big memorable moment for me. So that's my Home Alone of it all. And my final thoughts: this movie's awesome. It's the best. It's like one of the best horror movies and best movies. It's just so good. It does everything so well. It does the paranoia, the distrust, and like not trusting anyone, and like that whole thing was amazing. It did isolation really well, right? Just like being isolated in this at this location and everything, super effective. And then all of the like horror and the like body horror, weird kind of creature effects stuff was all super effective. And like watching it now 40 years later, and like all the effects are like still pretty much holding up. Like this movie, man, doesn't get much better than this. It's that stupid fucking spaceship underground. Can we just cut that out of our mind, and then we got a perfect movie on our hands. So that's my final thoughts.
Oh, right. Sorry. I was.
Bang, bang. Fantastic. Well, but Marianna was like, nope, I'm not next. So Steve, why don't you
No, I love this movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, not just my favorite John Carpenter movie, but I think if we've done this now for 3 years, and every time we watch a new John Carpenter movie, I've seen them all, but like I'm like, maybe he is the best director who ever lived. Like we give all of the credits to the people that have been able to stick around forever, but like he makes movies that are different and weird, and he never really kind of caved to the system. He's probably better suited as like a video game maker. Like he probably could have made some crazy ass video games if he was born like 2 decades later than he was. But I honestly feel like this is one of like the best horror movies, one of the best science fiction movies, and also one of the best movies ever made. And when it comes to my Home Alone of it all, it's like immediate when they're trying to shoot a dog and you're like, what the fuck are these guys doing over here? Shooting a dog? And like, you can't do that in a movie, but he understood that like, if I make these people shoot the dog immediately, then they're going to only trust the dog. And then you do trust the dog for the first act of the movie until you realize the dog is the enemy. And then you don't know who isn't the enemy after that, because you love the dog immediately.
Yeah, like isn't there like a famous book about screenwriting called Save the Cat or something like that, where it's like the idea of like if you save a cat early in a movie, that's how you win over an audience or whatever. It's like they immediately
they're trying to kill the dog, and so you love the dog, but you hate the person shooting the dog, and then the dog is there, but the entire time you're like, I don't know, the dog seems suspicious. It's like such a good and interesting way to make a movie. And yeah, my Home Alone of it all is like immediate when they're shooting at the dog. I'm like, this is because you don't ever see stuff like this in movies, like, and not even just for like, you don't see this anymore. I'm like, you didn't even see for the time or anywhere in between. It's just like a thing that they decided to do that is like such a like a good, smart thing to do for the structure of their film. When it comes down to a rating, I'm going to give this like a fully formed thing, which is just a regular person walking through the world, and you don't even realize that it's the thing until it gets you. Until it gets you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I didn't give a rating. I'm sorry. 69 out of 69.
I forgot. No, didn't you mean 6 out of 9 or whatever the fuck?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll go with that.
699. Yeah. Give yourself a round of applause.
Oh.
Can you hear me?
Marianna. Yep.
Yes.
I can hear you.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, sorry. My headphones died like as Mike was wrapping up, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm gone. But no, I figured it out. Yeah. Is it my turn?
It is. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like the Home Alone of it all for me is actually, maybe I agree with Steven. I actually felt like right from the beginning that this movie is different because they're shooting at the dog. Like that was like a big, weird, impactful moment. But then also, I think when that guy Blair, is it Blair, starts freaking out and smashing all the computers, at that point I'm like really like, oh, okay, like I feel like that is when I also started to be like, fuck, everyone's gonna go crazy, aren't they? Like this is gonna start to be real chaos like as soon as this guy's done. So maybe that part, but honestly it's hard to pick because there's a lot of iconic moments and a lot of like moments that I felt like just led to more paranoia and more just freaky shit. Yeah. And then my final thoughts on the movie, just like I don't really watch horror movies, and I don't like gore, and I like that this was a practical effects movie that was creepy and gory, but like in a way that I could handle, because it did creep me out. Like it was gross and creepy, and I could see the real like effect it was having, but it wasn't like, I think often now like gore is like,
It wasn't like Hostel or something.
Yeah. It's not like, I don't like movies that are like, oh, we're gonna like slice a human body open and just like watch entrails fall out. Like that's just like not me. Or like someone's gonna just like drain someone's blood entirely. Like it's just, I don't like this serial killer gore. But this was like fantastical and sci-fi and weird and creepy in like a really fun way. That was, I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but I really enjoyed it. It was just, for someone who doesn't really watch horror movies because I'm too grossed out, I think like it just really impressed me. Yeah. I mean, this comment that like if they had just made it like pure paranoia without the alien monsters and just a mind virus. I feel like, isn't there a movie like that? I feel like there must be something.
There's probably
like that
tons of movies like that
called Mind Virus.
Like
maybe
it follows almost comes to mind.
Yeah.
It's called The Thong, and they find a thong on the ground, and then like people start.
And then everyone goes crazy.
Yeah, I think that's the movie they were watching on VHS.
But yeah, no, I loved the psychological just terror of it all. And yeah, I would definitely watch it again. I very much enjoyed it. I guess if I had to rate it, I would rate it 1 big ancient hat out of 1.
Made of the thing skin.
It's time for me to tell you that Miyagi 1326 has gifted a tier 1 sub to Hey, did you see this one's community? And it went to Dirac Attack. So Dirac Attack is now also subscribed to us. So thank you, Miyagi. My Home Alone of it all this week was basically the same as you guys, but when that dog mutates and it tries to escape through the vent, I was like, oh yeah. And then when they all start getting at each other's throats, I agree with the Soulcraft that you could subtract some stuff from this movie and it would still be equally as powerful. You know, I still like the body horror monster stuff, but the idea of a paranoia sort of mind virus thing happening. Is that's what I for some reason thought the 50s one was, but no, it's just a Frankenstein's monster, I guess. The thing is a masterpiece. It looks exceptionally good in 4K, and I had a really good time watching it after all these years. I'd forgotten a lot of the elements that make this a good mystery sci-fi horror. My only real issue is the weirdness with the passage of time, which we kind of touched on towards the end. And they jam so much in the last 45 minutes that maybe you have to have this like presumed passage of time. And we talked about the spaceship as well, which kind of just sticks out like a sore thumb. Kurt Russell is great as the action man lead. I also like the child's character, and Keith David's great. I need to go watch the 2011 requel now, as I called it, and I give it a 5 out of 5. It's a perfect movie for me. And I also give it an unclear who the real thing was all along, because that's how it needs to be. That's my.
You know what? I'm going to revise mine slightly. I think. Oh, you go. Sorry. Applause.
My flowers.
I didn't even.
Flowers. Okay, sorry.
I didn't give you your applause break. I'm so sorry. No, I was just going to say that the movie was so good that I forgot there are no women in it. And I have to downgrade my rating slightly. Maybe like 2/3 of or 3/4 of an ancient hat, because I feel like there's just like it's like a little mildly problematic for me that like there's absolutely no women in this universe. Does it take place on a planet where there's no women, or
you don't know? There were no women in the movie, but there were 12 gay men, so at least we had that.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I was watching.
The other thing was like the just sort of racism of it all, making the one of the only black guys repeat voodoo shit over and over again, which I was like, why?
Yeah,
I don't know. That felt weird. Why give him that line over and over again? We don't.
There are 2 people of color, and one of them was the cook.
It wasn't the cook.
No, but he was one of the people of color.
But Childs kept saying, like, do you believe this voodoo bullshit? Which I was
Keith
like,
David is awesome, though.
Okay.
I love Keith David.
And,
yeah.
It was 1982, and he continued to work with John Carpenter a lot afterwards.
Sure.
He wasn't displaced by it. I think he was kind of like, this is fun.
I don't think anybody was really affected by that. I just think it was the 80s, and everybody was kind of like chill about these things, about the fact that women don't need to exist, and that black people do and say black things, like stereotypical sort of like it was.
If it does,
like
for any credit that can be given, John Carpenter, for his his pre and post production team, was very good about hiring women. It was just the stories that he didn't he didn't put them in those stories a lot, unless they were all about the women.
I mean, Halloween.
Yeah, no, I'm saying unless they were all about the woman, like he didn't like if it was like a man story, he's like, this is a man story. It has to be just about men.
Yeah, and like a woman scientist, who would buy that?
Yeah, especially in Antarctica. It's too cold. It's too cold out there for women.
Wow.
Can I say that before we wrap up? I'm actually delighted that we are all kind of the same opinion about the ending of the movie, because I was kind of a little bit anxious about that, of like, I know there's a lot of theories and people love their theories and stuff, and I'm glad we're all like on the same page there. I think that's cool. Yeah.
I'm also kind of glad that you guys don't like it, because like the ending, in a nutshell, is just kind of like, it feels kind of bad. It feels like, like a sped up, like something you do in a Ninja Turtles or something, where it's like, oh, we have to fight the monster now. Yeah, it just doesn't. But again, it doesn't, for some reason, this is like one of the few movies where I'm like I don't judge the whole movie based on the end. Like I only think about the beginning of the movie, because I think the beginning of the movie is like one of the strongest introductions to a movie I've ever seen in my entire life. It's
Yeah.
so good.
And I do like the ending, like that the last scene and the mystery and everything. I like
Yeah.
that. It was just there was a little bit there in the third act that it was like I could have done without that or
Too
or whatever.
wormy and weird. Yeah. It also just doesn't
Wow.
add anything. It adds nothing, is what it does. It's just there to be like a. It feels like a like a note from the studio being like, we have to have a big ending, and it's like, no, imagine there wasn't one though. Like imagine like slowly they just killed each other and there was no kind of weird giant dynamite moment where he blew up the ship.
A literal climax.
Yeah.
A movie that doesn't really need it.
Anyway,
wow, should we should plug our shit and head to bed, or is Marianna coming back?
Let's hang out all day, dude. Oh, The Mist. Yeah. Oh man, The Mist. The ending of The Mist is one of the
I love
most
The Mist.
haunting endings
We did
I've
The
ever
Mist on
seen.
the
It was-
show.
We've done The Mist on this show, and it was all because I wanted to make a whole month around The Mist. And I was like, what do I do? And then I was like, how about just Stephen King month? And I made like a whole month of Stephen King movies. And it was just because I wanted to do The Mist.
Nice.
I love The Mist. It's one of my favorite movies. Yeah, but it's the same, right? Where like there is like a chunk at the end of The Mist that you're like, it's just them fighting monsters, and you're like, I don't really care this much about anything other than the beginning and like the middle part and then the very, very end. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of definitely kind of the same in that sense. Yeah. And didn't John Carpenter also direct? He directed Christine, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Another movie that has like a really good intro and like a little bit of a shitty kind of third act, but like the end is pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also Stephen King wrote it.
Yeah.
Let's get our plugs in before Mariana's internet explodes again. Even though you guys are on the same connection.
We're not, because I'm in the basement where the internet is not as good. So I'm actually tethering myself from my phone, which seems to be working much better than it was before. But then it just decided to implode. It's probably because I said that stuff about the black guy saying voodoo.
Yeah. The internet doesn't like when you do that. It starts to cut off like automatically.
So sorry.
You wanna play the plug theme there, Steve?
All right, let me just plug this in right here and
He died.
That's right. Everybody plug your shit. Marianna, why don't you go first? What do you have to plug this week?
God, what do I always have the Sonar Network to plug. Everybody check out thesonarnetwork.com or type it into your podcast apps. I think if you type the Sonar Network into your podcast apps, you'll find a bunch of shows that are made by the Sonar Network, and you can pick one that you like and listen. That's what I ask of you this day.
Yeah,
Thank you.
So I have a very similar plug because we both run this company together, and we're running this business together. But we so yeah, we do have a lot of shows, and you can go check them out. A lot of comedy or whatever. But as always, whether you support one of our shows or one of the United Federation of Podcast shows or whatever else, I think. As always, I like to plug that just go support independent podcasting because it rocks and there's lots of cool stuff being done out there. And it's not all about Smartless. So pull your head out of your ass, you losers.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, he's right. He's not wrong.
No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I
Whoa.
mean, there's a lot of great work being done out there in the indie world, and check it out. Go check one out, and maybe you'll like it. We also, I plugged this 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I plugged this 2 weeks ago, but I will do it
I'm
again.
going to say probably the same thing.
Yeah, we have a big show coming out, which is coming out early next year or in the spring to summer of 2025. It's a narrative audio podcast written by Mike Sachs. and starring Bobby Moynihan from Saturday Night Live, Ray Seahorn from Better Call Saul, Steve Little from Eastbound and Down, Tim Sharp, all kinds of great people, and it's going to be great. And we're really like looking forward to sharing that with the world. We're just really working hard in production right now on it, and it's coming out really, really good. So yeah, check out. It's called Stanland. It's like a story of like a Narnia-like world if it had been completely corrupted by capitalism. If you can imagine that. So yeah, someone discovers a Narnia-like world and starts introducing and accidentally introduce kind of corporate convenience to the world. And then years later, it is now completely overrun with vape shops and like, fast food restaurants and stuff.
Everybody's wearing a scarf like Tumnus, but it's like a shitty quality Tumnus scarf.
Yeah, it's really great. And the writer had a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's like a lot of
go ahead, Marianna.
A lot of knockoff products and like dumb things from Earth being used as other things and stuff like that. And if you are interested in following our journey making it and want updates on the show, you can follow at Stanland Series on Instagram.
Yeah, Marianna's cutting out a bit, but Stanland Series at Stanland Series on Instagram is we're in the very early stages of it, so there's not much there. But if you follow now, you'll get updates about it, and you can kind of follow along the journey as we kind of go, continue in the production process and start getting closer to launch. So check it out, you fucking losers. Just kidding. I love you. I think you're cool, and you're cooler than me. I'm a loser. So,
well, thank you. Thank you.
See, Mr. Miyagi is going to listen. Stanland Series. I better see one new follower, Miyagi.
That's true. Yes. How about you, Steve? What's cooking, buddy?
Oh, I mean, I'm still doing all the voice acting shit that I can possibly do. Every day I try as hard as I can to make sure that I'm providing voices for everybody who needs them out there, who don't have them themselves. And my Darth Theorist and the Three-Eyed Theorist, those are two of the big ones, but I'm also still on True Crime Stories and a whole bunch of other ones. But I don't know. I can't even do it right now. I don't care. I have so many scripts. I have 23 scripts I was supposed to do today, and I only did 4. What else am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do?
You could call the audience a loser.
You guys are all losers out there. You don't even know what I'm doing. It's hard.
You've got a request here from Miyagi.
Steve, can you say, in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war? Did I do it right?
Holy shit, Steve! Steve, how are you the most talented man in the entire world? It's like, I also drew this
Seriously.
shirt. It's like, I can't do anything that you do. You can do all of it somehow. I can't even do like half of. I can't draw half as good as you, and I can't speak half as good as you. So, anyway. Congratulations on being the most fucking perfect man in existence.
Sounds so bitter about it.
I mean, I can teach you,
but I have to try.
Well, that's before we get out of here, I just want to let you guys, everybody listening, know that each and every week right here on Twitch and YouTube, you can find the television program. Hey, did you see this one where we unravel every single movie in existence? 160 something strong at this point. We have no plans of slowing down, but in fact, we have, we've tightened things up this week. I think this was a great trial run. I won't explain everything next week. You'll just have to follow along. you can find our show on demand on Twitch right after this, and tomorrow on YouTube. I'll put it up without the intro bit added on, so you can just get the show. You can get it in audio format as well tomorrow. Well, typically we go live on Thursday, so it'll be Friday. It'll all be up over the weekend. Yeah, ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. We also have a shop where you can buy more images that the very talented, most talented man in the universe, Steve, has created. Stephen Ain't No Thang Waters. We have this Grimoire Familiar Killers poster you can get put onto a shirt. One of my favorites.
Let me guess. Steve drew that too.
Yeah, he did.
Oh my God, I can't.
He also drew Kill Aid, which you can get on a shirt from our Grimoire Familiar Killers this year, a reference to that. And of course, Twinkerbell. You can get Twinkerbell put on a shirt.
Oh, I love this. I've seen it before, but I love it every time.
It's great. And coming soon on the store, we're going to put up our Zardos How, Why, Who, What Occurs t-shirt, which you can see in one of our opening segments on this very show. All of that and more will be available. We'll be increasing the amount of things that you can find on the store throughout the year. And I'd like to thank everybody for last year, and Happy New Year. Happy New Year to everybody who is here. Sorry, I was doing comments and talking at the same time, so I meandered. But that said, there is just one question that needs to be asked each and every week. I would say, Marianna and Michael, do you want to try saying it at the same time? I'll count you down.
Count us down.
In a 3, in a 2, in a 1. You're up.
Hey,
have
you seen this? That one?
It's time to be funny. Everybody make jokes at the same time.
Ho ho ho.
Pee 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 poopy.
Have you guys ever heard the one about pee pee poopy?
I think Jason is the thing.
What am I?
The
thing?
Oh.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, I didn't want to say it the entire episode, but I was like, I think out of all of us, I have to maybe speculate that Jason is.
But I like that we did leave the episode ambiguous, so it could have been any one of us by at the end.
It's true.
But even though
beam up some Star Trek content with Live Long and Podcast. Tune in to X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show. Artistic interviews with graphic histories. A roundtable movie discussion with Hey, did you see this one? And movie reviews with Hold Up, a movie podcast. And while you're at it, spin a few records with Eamon on Track. Watch us duke it out on trivial debates. And let's chat about TV with the Super Mater Brothers. It's all here on the United Federation of